Okay. Sheriff. 3 minutes behind. Let's go ahead and call this special meeting to order. Thank each of you for coming out today. Turn first to the board. Any of you have an opportunity or time to look over the budget over the weekend? I know I did.
I did.
I came down yesterday. Huh? I don't either, but anyway, had an opportunity to come down Saturday and spend about 4 hours with Butler and the attorney, and I understand Miss Lanier was here Friday working on this, and you were here, dear?
Yes, sir. I did
Proposal one?
Yes, sir, but we were replacing the second
Okay.
page and the two.
I'm good. But anyway, I hope you did, and we're here today to do a little more fine tuning on this. See if we can come up with something that possibly we all can live with. Main thing it is about the taxpayers. Mr. Butler, if you want to take the lead on this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
What about this?
We
Okay,
got a PowerPoint up, if we could.
sure. Y'all would like, come on. You know I could close. Huh? All right, thank you. Just to hold on a minute. Got 'em right here. Okay. Is that blocking now?
TV monitors.
I know.
That's good.
I just can't get the.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, since we had a budget meeting, budget workshop last week, special meeting last week on budget, we've been working on budget potential cuts and some changes to the budget. Matter of fact, the last change was about 5 minutes ago on the RCSC. And and there's some other changes that possibly can be made. Talked with Joe just has come into the room. Joe has done an analysis on his budget, and we have already milked some out of his budget Joe doesn't know about, but he has he's got an analysis in my email, and I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. But as we go through this, you get a good idea of where we are and what we can do and what we can't do. And if we could start at the top.
Let's just line by line.
Yeah, and I'll back up just here. We, from last year to this year, we have a difference of $2,612,000 in the proposal number one that you received last week. And in the majority of that because we had less cash carry forward this year. So $2,612,565 is the magic number. So we try to whittle that down. And we start at the top, payroll, and everything on the left represents what we are saying that you can cut if you want to cut.
Or you, yes, no,
Yes, sir.
cut this.
Yes, sir. And the payroll, we plugged in payroll in the new budget, in October's budget. We would like to have a good payroll system. One way of saying it, I guess we've been operating since 1925 without a good payroll system. We might get by another year or two. But we're proposing to take that $35,000 out. The next $10,000 is live streaming of meetings, something that a lot of people had shown an interest in, that we could have live broadcasts of county commission meetings. And we plugged $10,000 in, that's what it's going to cost to do it, and we're proposing to take it out. The next $15,000 is equipment, Mr. Chairman, you've been speaking of here in the boardroom, speakers, microphones, to get a better quality. This, what we have here is 14 years old, and it's not working right, but we plugged $15,000 in the new budget, and that's proposed to take out. I'm not looking at Joe on this one. We, $204,000 for excavator. That's a line item we have in the public works budget that you could take out. Fueling system, something that Joe and I have been talking about over a dozen years, but $120,000 for a fueling system is something that we need, but we never had one like we're trying to get. So it's a $120,000 you could delete from your proposed budget. $25,000 in building department truck. That's a new truck that we have. A couple of vehicles, 3 vehicles, and a couple of them that have extremely high mileage in the building department. We're proposing to take that $25,000 out. Houston had shifted his money around in EMS budget and to place $50,000. $50,000 won't buy an ambulance, but do it about 3 years in a row, we could come up with enough money to buy an ambulance. But we're proposing to take that 50 out. The next, starting with library, Humane Society, Senior Citizens, non-sponsored Veterans Transportation, ARC, Health Department, and T.O. James Park, and WeWall. There's 6 or 7 of those. We placed a number here, and this number represents a 25% reduction in library, which would be $27,515. Humane Society, $12,150. Senior Citizen, $8,500. Veterans Transportation, $4,654. ARC, $1,763. Health Department, 25% reduction, $14,874. And T.O. James Park and WeWall, $3,418. The next $6,248 is money that was plugged into the proposed budget, October's budget, for pay raises and some salary from the clerk of court, proposing to take that out. Since Lynn and Sherry have worked many hours working on utilities and try to get all the utilities under one budget, we had some in public works and some in EMS and some under the utility budget. It looks like we can, with Lynn says she's somewhat conservative on this, cut another $24,000 out of utilities to save that $24,000. The last one, last one on my page here, is $11,893. We were proposing to go from 2 days a week to 3 days a week with VSO, the Veteran Service Officer. Joe's been extremely busy, but what this would do by not funding this, it'll keep it at 2 days a week, 2 10-hour days. And the next item, $50,000, that's $50,000 that was placed in the budget in the current year for your new roof, the supervisor of elections, and it got left in the budget, so we're proposing to take that $50,000 out. The next one is $60,000 for work crew vans. This is there was money in this year's budget, and Joe explained to the board last week that Ford backed up and wouldn't sell us the vans off state contract, and we have money in the new budget. So the total of those is like 128.
112. 112.
Yeah, the vans and trailers, off 128,000, we propose to take 60,000 out. We got work crew vans that are falling down, but this doesn't leave enough in there to buy like 3. The next one was something that Mark and I had talked, and the reason for this 24,000 was to do something similar to what we did in Overstreet. We had an issue on Palmetto, and we had to go in and put a lot of culverts in. We didn't budget for culverts, but we had a stormwater problem. This would have been some money that countywide, that when we had the similar type problem, we got a lot of these problems in the county, to go in and buy some culverts and concrete and so forth. But proposing to take that money out. We're proposing to you to take $20,000 out of our lobbyist contract. Our lobbyists have been working on COBRA and FEMA and on port. But deduct 20 from 80, leave $60,000 there. And a total expenditure cut of $728,014.50. Then the next item, we just mentioned we didn't put a monetary amount by it. The downtown redevelopment reduction due to reducing millage. If millage does come down, we got it planned in the book in the proposal number 1 at a certain rate. If the mill rate comes down, the amount paying out comes down. The next item is $1,950. It was Supervisor Lexington had some raises planned in his budget, proposing to take the raises out. Also, Supervisor Lexington had 90 additional hours per part-time employee, $1,690, proposing to take that out. The next $2,970 was tax collector raises, proposing to take that money out. The next $100,000 is money that the county commission gave the sheriff last year to buy vehicles. The sheriff intended to roll that money over and buy new vehicles in the coming year, starting October. But the proposal in front of you is to cut that $100,000 out, which means you wouldn't be able to buy vehicles again. The next two items are also sheriff. The 61,886 is investigator and associated costs, and 9888 is the insurance, the health insurance for the investigator position, taking those two out. The next is to do with a property appraiser. There's $69,012. That's a couple employees, $34,506 each. And the next item, $17,776, is the insurance for two people. This proposal would eliminate both of those. And at the bottom of that, the total expenditure decrease with all that together is $995,187. It's in the red at the bottom of that page. The next is the board agreed to freeze the budgets last week. So far, say so far, because we're still working, and I mentioned earlier, Joe, he had done an analysis on his budget, and other budgets we're still looking at, well, what we can do. HICRA, although we had the budget statutorily, we had the budget $4 per capita every year, including this year. We don't have a hospital drawing that down this year, and we're just like we'll be able to take that $50,420 and buy down the budget. The next $70,000 you see on there, you'll see it here later on under other adjustments. You'll see $70,000 again. This $70,000 is due with the current year's budget. We had planned on Sacred Heart paying for the ambulance rides between their hospitals, between Sacred Heart, Port St. Joe, and Sacred Heart, Panama City. And so far this year, they failed to make payment. And what we're proposing to do is with direction from the county commission to the attorney, let the attorney negotiate and determine on the healthcare trust fund to how the county commission can reach in and get your payment. Sacred Heart is not paying you for the ambulance rides between the hospital, and that money, if left untouched, goes to Sacred Heart. So our proposition is you reach in and grab this 70 or 70 plus what it's going to be, whatever the amount EMS has been shortchanged this year. And I get down to it a little bit later, same thing for the coming year. So we're talking about twice $70,000. The next $103,554 is, this is late last week. Becky and Sherry, they worked, last time I talked to them about 10:15, 10:30 at night, and I think they worked about 11 o'clock that night, and they pulled together another $103,554 to buy the budget down with. The next $100,000 is Mr. Hammond has determined, although he needs to buy uniforms for the employees and for the inmates and a whole bunch of other stuff, to freeze $100,000 in the jail to help buy the budget down in the current year. Those total come up $323,974. And then the next group is the 2015 budgeted revenue adjustments. And we're proposing to you to take $200,000 of your $400,000 in secondary road and bridge. It's the money left over after we receive gas tax and make the bond payment on our road bond. We're taking $200,000 of that money and plugging it into public works where we legally can. You can't just use this money anywhere, but where it legally can be used, and replace $200,000 of ad valorem tax. That's $200,000 that can be done. The next for your consideration is a 5-cent gas tax. Everybody calls it second local option gas tax. After you could only get 9 months of this tax, started in January, you couldn't start getting October. And after both cities got their cut, you could pick up $112,000, $112,628. The next $70,000 is the second year of what we're suggesting the county commission allow the attorney to work with the healthcare trust fund to reach in there and grab next year's money we didn't even put it in the budget since Sacred Heart didn't pay us this year. We didn't plan on the revenue next year when we worked on the budget. But it's to be the second half of that money. The next item, this is an estimate for a sale of the compactor, limb trucks, and dozer that's used in the landfill. After the landfill has been closed, this would probably happen, well, part of it could happen early after January, and probably some of it could happen till later on in the year. And we think this is a conservative estimate. We think the compactor itself will sell more than $300,000, but we have an estimate of $300,000 for the compactor, limb trucks, there's 2 trucks, and the dozer. And all of that, if the board would agree with that, that's $682,628. And you take the first $995,187, the expenditure cuts, the $323,974 would be the freezing and the cascade forward increases, and the $682,628 is the total budgeted revenue adjustments. So you have a total there of $2,001,789 that you could buy your proposed budget down. So with that, you're looking at a number $2,612. That would buy it down $2,000,000. So we're looking in if you were to do all this, we're looking in the $600,000 range of tax increase. Now,
Talking about a half a mil.
if you did that, about a half a mil.
Increase of a half a mil.
About half a mil. And I would say really and truly, you don't need to cut any of that list that we put together, because every bit of that's needed. But we also understand you've got to do.
We can't increase 2 meals.
That's right. So, and the next page, Lynn, we worked on this late over the weekend. Didn't know if you had it on your list. This would take a restructuring of what Houston is doing with EMS. And I don't think anybody's going to argue Houston does a superb job at, all right, taking care of us, EMS. But what this would do, and we got RFP out for private enterprise to give us a price on running EMS. It'll be in by the first day of August. But if EMS remains county, we're proposing you decrease the budget from 1.2 million something down to $1 million. And what we'd like to be able to do is sit down and go through. There's a lot of overtime and one thing or another that we'd like to bring back in front of you and see if possibly we could buy that down some. Not second guessing what Houston's doing. He got it figured out. But it is a big budget, and if we could possibly go in and work on it. Next item, when we close the landfill, first day of January, it should be closed. It's going to take Joe all year, most of the year, to actually get it closed. I'm throwing a wild number out, 1,000 loads of clay and a lot of dirt to be spread and shaped and for engineers' design. But at the end, at some point in time, we're going to reap a benefit, a windfall from the landfill being closed. Not right now, but hopefully in a year. But if we could say in the closing cost, hopefully there's going to be some escrow money, and hopefully there's more escrow money than it's going to cost to actually close the landfill. And so that number right now, we can't really tell you what it is, but it's going to be something, we think. And then the last item on the list, when the county commission said, let's go through the process and put a transfer station in place and close the landfill, the county told the employees, it's not our plan to go out and lay you off. But what this suggests to you is, we got a few, and I'll back up, we could use 15 people in Public Works today. This was landfill closed and we had about 4 people to Public Works to spread around. But to try to get us through this tight spot, employee attrition from Public Works has, unless, now we had a mechanic leave last week and we got to replace the mechanic, those type jobs, but it may work out, if it were to work out, somebody, a less critical type job were to resign, retire, whatever, we're just not at this time hiring back. So in a nutshell, going through it real quick, that's what we worked up. And we're not seeing a real good way to get up to that $2,612,000. And we're prepared to talk about any one of those.
Anything else, Mr. Butler?
No, sir.
Ed, okay. Thank you. Hey, Tan. On that field.
Mr. Chairman, I was going to ask if we can get those in writing.
Well, Butler, thank you. Presentation.
Mr. Chairman, I would suggest we go one by one and talk about them and see if we can't get consensus board to go with these recommendations. I don't know what, Don, did you have a plan to go one by one and talk about them?
I think that'd be the best way, yeah. I'll say again, there's probably everything on this cut list is needed. There's, varying degrees, but I'd say take one by one.
All right, question. Right now, with all this cuts in, we're looking at a $500,000 increase. The ballpark there?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Don't do it, what millage rate are we looking at, Mr. Butler?
Nearly 2 mil, 1.8, am I correct there? Going from,
yeah.
right now, we're at what, 6.5,
1.7 mil increase.
1.7, that's to cover this. Okay. Jay, you want
I
to take it?
Yeah, one by one, and
Is it-
I'll let
Anybody have any opposition to that on this? If not, Butler, you want to go or you want Ms. Lanier over here? You want
I'd lay in the start.
It don't matter to me.
Number one.
That's
Are you gonna vote on every issue, every item? I mean, how you gonna handle this?
we got to come back if it's the board's wishes, we can. We can if it's the board's wishes.
Special meeting?
Well, I think we can make
We
a
can vote in
decision on the
this,
ones that we can make decisions on. Obviously, probably with some of these, we may have to all go back and take a look at, but I think as long as we can agree on them, let's go ahead and agree on them.
This is a
Yeah, we can do
notice
that.
meeting, it's not a workshop, so we can vote today. All right,
Okay, Mr. Chairman, the first item is the payroll system, a reduction of $35,000.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
all right, here we go. Motion. Here a second?
I'm second to go good. Let's go with that.
Any further discussion from any of the board members? Anybody in the audience, any input on this? Any opposition? If not, 5-0 for this reduction.
Number two is a $10,000 reduction for the live streaming of meetings.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Motion?
I'll second it since we've got it on TV and all that. Live streaming, I'd like to get at some
Oh, man,
point.
I've been fighting for that, but
I'd love to have everything on here.
Yep.
But we know we're not gonna be able to do it, so might as well bite the bullet and move
Well-
on.
May I just say one thing?
sure.
It sometimes takes us 2, 3, 4 hours to get it up currently, the way that it is done with the free services. I understand, Mr. McLemore, but I just want the board to be aware that this is a free service we're doing now, and we have to take physical tapes and make copies of those. Takes 4 hours employee time to get those meetings on the internet and on the web for customers. So I just want the public to be aware that we're doing the best we can to still keep everybody informed, but without a live stream, it still takes us a lot of time to get that online for everybody, so I just want the public to be aware of that. Be patient with us that we do the best we can.
I agree with you 100%. I'd love, we're gonna reach over here to Mr. Whitfield and the sheriff and the property appraiser. We're gonna have to bite the bullet on some stuff too. We're not gonna feather our nest and then take from them. All right, we have a motion by Commissioner McLemore, I think, seconded, didn't you? Any further board discussion on this? Anyone from the audience? No opposition, 5-0 on number 2 there. That's a live stream meeting.
Number 3 is $15,000 reduction for equipment for the boardroom.
Move, Mr. Chairman.
Motion, Commissioner McLemore. Thank you. Commissioner Smiley, second. Any other discussion on this?
Only other discussion is
Okay.
sooner or later, we're gonna have to bite the bullet and do this. I mean, I hear complaints from constituents, especially on the north end, that just can't hear it. I don't hear much from my constituents, but
We don't. We
I-
have.
I-
It's-
I do
it's
in
terrible. Terrible.
I'm good.
All right. Anything? No, if not, any opposition? All right, item number 3, 5-0. Lead.
The next item is reduction of $204,000 for the sale of the, or, excuse me, for the
Oh.
purchase of an excavator.
Can I ask a question on that? I thought we already purchased an excavator.
This is a wheel backhoe.
This is a
for
wheel one,
cleaning
not a
ditches
track.
Alongside the road.
Oh, okay. So move.
All right, motion on the floor by Commissioner McLemore. I hear a second to,
Yeah, second.
For what
second
it's
by.
worth, it's a mistake.
Just
When they're
a
both
minute.
broken,
Wait a minute, just a minute. Got a second over here by Commissioner Yeager. Board discussion. All right, now we go out here. Now, you in order.
one's broken down now, when the other one breaks down and your ditches aren't getting cleaned, you'll buy an excavator.
So let me let me go ahead and tell you something,
Right here.
Mr. Danford. We'll do what we have to do up here. We don't need you to sit there and threaten us and tell us what we're going to do.
Just telling you what's gonna happen.
We understand that.
All right, we got it.
We work every day.
I would like to
Hold
say
on.
that I
I'll
do
come out over here.
appreciate the input from staff. And on any of these items, that anyone on staff has input, I would like to hear it.
Well, that's great. All right, there's a motion and a second to eliminate the $204,000 excavator from the budget. Any further discussion with the board?
I have
Sure.
one comment. If we aren't going to fund the purchase of the excavator, should we at least be putting aside some funding so that we can get there at some point? Is there,
May I respond to
All right, over here.
that? I agree with you 110%. You know, we need every piece of equipment we have. We need more. In this proposal here, we're looking at selling equipment, dozers, limb trucks. You know, that's something personally I'd never do. We don't have a choice in here. We don't have the fundings, the tax dollars coming in nowadays. Hopefully, everything will improve and we can get back to where we need to be. But yes, I'm all about equipment.
Mr. Chairman, can I say
Sure.
too? Don, I do want to be careful not to be in the worst position next year with cash carry forward than what we are this year. I know we've got to cut, and I know we've got to try to get back to as close as we can to that millage rate, and I knew that this cash carry forward would hit us at some point. I never would have believed it hit us this hard, but I don't want to put us in the same position next year that cash carry forward goes from 4 million to 3. And we've got to address it again, but I know that we've got to cut, and I understand.
May I respond to that?
When he gets through.
I'm done.
That is a very good issue, a very good question, Mr. Yeager, and what we need to figure out is how do we do that? We don't need to come up here next year into the same situation that we're in this year. This is what caught us this year, you know. So if there's room out there, we need to work at that. We need to look at it and try to go ahead and plan for it. You know, we got caught this year, bottom line.
All right,
Well,
just,
Mr. Chairman, my comment would be, we have for several years now, worked from year to year to year to year with smaller budget. This year, you look like you're going to a smaller budget or no larger budget. The odds are, you're probably going to have less left over at the end of the year. So odds are, you're not going to have a lot of cash carry forward next year. It's because not a lot now, and it won't be a lot going in. So I don't think it can be as drastic as this year because there's $3 million of your cash carry forward in your reserve for contingency and cash carry forward for working capital. But, so you don't have that much unrestricted cash carry forward. So, but as your budget gets smaller, the amount left over in the year is going to be smaller.
All right. Let me say this, and follow up to the two commissioners here. Just like as an example, I saw it on the board here, and the attorney and I, we're fixing to, and this board, the attorney and I have been working with them. This board, just like we didn't anticipate, is $70,000. Whitfield, what's it at now? $78,000 that Sacred Heart owes this taxpayers. Taxpayers already given them a half cent on the sales tax. Now we turn around and give them another $78,000. They don't want to stand up to their obligation. We may have to dip into that half cent. All right, on the landfill, when I left here Saturday, I stopped out. Our land 5 Points is open on Saturdays. Talk with the employees. That's where you can get your information. Some that you need. Limb trucks. 3 years ago, they had about 5 or 6 of these lawn services on a regular basis. They don't have any now because these limb trucks, the man from Georgia is paying them. They just go out there and dump it on the public right away, and we come along and pick it up for free. So there was $100,000 that we'd anticipated in revenue coming in there. It's gone. We're doing it for free. So that's just some of it. That's just some of it. But go ahead, Mr. Butler. That's all. I just wanted the people to know that there's $170,000 right there. It'd get the sheriff some cars, but people won't pay us.
Mr. Chairman, on
Yes.
that note, I have a question
Sure.
regarding the Sacred Heart payment.
Mhm.
Are they giving us a reason that they're not paying, or they just haven't paid? Have they taken a position that they don't have to pay?
Commissioner,
I can take a stab at it, Commissioner.
You want to handle that, or I?
Yeah, I can. It's a
do it.
lengthy discussion. It's been a year and a half. I think it's 17 or 18 months now.
We started,
Started approaching them about a contribution or a grant to the county to subsidize the EMS runs. Over that time now, we've accumulated a backlog of invoices, so it's not even a grant or a stipend anymore that they're offering. It's now just even in receivables that we have. Other than the discussions that we've had at our Health Trust Board, the chairman and I, I've met with Ms. Norwood, we've talked with Mr. Hall, and there's been a lot of responses and a lot of different answers. But to this date, they have not given us a commitment. Most recently, last week, I had reached out to them, and they said that they were going to re-examine it and hopefully be able to come up with something to contribute towards the county. We're hopeful for that, but we still have not received any kind of commitment.
So there is no agreement in place?
No, there's not.
Okay, thank you.
this board, hopefully we can set an agreement in there and start.
Trying to
generate some-
clarify.
Sure, that's great. All right, we're back on the excavator.
Second stands.
Any more? We got a second. You made the motion, didn't you, Commissioner? Second, any further discussion? Anyone here, anybody? Stanford, anyone? No opposition?
Well, I'm opposed.
Okay, sure, you're opposed. All right, just to scratch the excavator passes 4. All right,
Mr. Chairman, the next on the list is $120,000 for the fueling system.
There again, guys, something we need, but we have done without it for a number of years. I think we can postpone it for a year, but I think it's like many of these things, like live stream of the meetings and that type of thing. We're gonna have to put it on this list next year and put it in the budget next year for us to consider it next year. But I think it's something that Joe needs and everybody, the county needs in general, but I don't see any way that we can fund it this year.
I considered this an expendable item. I was willing to throw it out. Not so the excavator, but you already voted on that, so I'll shut up.
Thanks, Jeff.
you gonna make a motion?
I'll make the motion to,
Motion second by Commissioner Smiley. Any question on this system? Anyone from the audience? Opposition, fueling system. Reset or delete it from the budget, passes 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, next on the list is a $25,000 reduction for the building department truck.
Would this be George's truck or yours? Code enforcement truck? How many miles does it have on it?
It don't really matter, Mr. Yeager, we can't afford it.
I agree.
Okay, people. I need a motion here. Smiley, motion to delete the building department truck.
Second.
Second by Mr. Yett, Commissioner Yett. Other discussion here on the floor? All right, anyone from the audience, opposition? Eliminate to delete the truck, passes 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, next on the list is $50,000 reduction for the EMS ambulance. It was a fund set up in order to purchase a new ambulance. I think it was going to take 3 years to purchase one ambulance.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Yeager. Second by Commissioner Ryan. Discussion. Bill, do you have any here?
The county maintenance is doing a good job on keeping up what we have now, and we just hang in there.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, any other from the office? Not any opposition? Motion to delete the 50,000 for EMS, passes 5-0.
Chairman, the next few items all include the 25% reductions for outside agencies. The first one being the library in the amount of $27,515 reduction.
Mr. Chairman, we have somebody from Humane Society. I don't see anybody from any of the rest of the agencies, and I don't even know if they want to speak to it. They understand, I think they see our budget, but they may want to, they want to speak to it.
All right, any on the library? Is anyone here to represent the library? You want us to bundle them, or, I've got a question on one down here.
And I think Miss Sandy wants to speak from the.
Okay, well, let's just take them. Let's just go right down the line on it, and we'll do that. I have a motion for the reduction for the library, 25%. I have a motion. Library, 25%.
Miss Mary's gonna kill me, and this isn't the final. Oh, boy. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir.
What's that, Tom?
No, you leave her right where she's at. All right.
This is all
Give me back.
preliminary. We're working on it.
All right, we're working on it. It's not official. All right, I have a second for the 25% reduction for the library. And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Here we go. Got a second by Commissioner Bryan. All right, is any more board discussion on this? Or anyone from the audience? Tom will. All right, if no further discussion, the 25% reduction for the library passes 5-0.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is $12,150 reduction for the Humane Society.
All right,
Mr. Chairman, Sandy's here. She may want to speak to that. I may want to recognize her at some point.
all right, well, I will when it gets time. All right, I have a motion for the 12,150 Humane Society, the 25% reduction. I have a motion.
Since I know Mr. McLemore's not going to do it, and it's something we got to do, I'll make the motion so we can get into some discussion on this and let Sandy come up. So move.
I hate to do it myself, but I see we're facing some technical discussion.
And I'll say, Mr. Chairman, some of these cuts are going to hurt us because they provide services to the county that we're, that's going to go down if we can't fund these budgets. But at any rate, Sandy, you
All right, just a minute here. We got a motion. The motion, I got interrupted there. Motion, seconded for discussion.
hang off.
Cut off.
Cut it off, Mr. Chairman.
Garbage man. Still in the garbage bin. Did you get your check?
No, not yet.
didn't
I'm
either.
looking for it, though.
Okay. Got a garbage issue somewhere. All right, where we at? All right, well, motion, second part. Board's open for discussions. Any discussion on the, now go to the audience. Anyone in the audience? Any discussion on the Humane Society's 25% reduction, totaling $12,150? Come on up, please.
It's tough times, listening to this, watching this, listening to Mr. Butler, recognizing how tough it is for everybody to make cuts. I want to tell you that Humane Society is in the same boat. Many people continue to refer to our Humane Society as an outside agency. I'm sorry, but we, the Board of Directors of the Humane Society, we really don't see ourselves as an outside agency. We really consider ourselves, oh, I'm
And
sorry,
can
I
you
pushed
say
it
your-
aside and I didn't mean
Real
to.
slow, it's
Say
Monday.
your full name for the record,
It's
too,
so
please.
funny, it's Sandra Christie.
Thank you.
I'm a Gulf County resident. It's so funny, when I speak at the prison, I have to push the mic aside because it doesn't work. I apologize. So, going back to my point, we don't see ourselves as an outside agency. We see ourselves as a contractual partner with this county because you rely on us and you've contracted with us to provide the initial 5 days of service that you're obligated to provide through your animal control ordinance whenever you pick up a stray-owned animal. So for instance, when Roland is called to go pick up a dog or cat, he's a county employee. He goes and picks that dog or cat up. He delivers it to us. We provide that service to you for a contracted amount, and we have been doing that for over 8.5 years. When I started with the Humane Society 12 years ago, you had a facility. Some of you may have seen it. It was a very small facility, pretty dilapidated. The county was doing the best job they could with what they had. There was no air conditioning, no heat, no septic, no sewer, no staff. There was one animal control officer. The Humane Society volunteers were the ones that came in and took care of the animals, fed them, and helped the animal control officer euthanize the animals when that was necessary. We did all the adoptions. We basically have always worked for the county. However, when the county was unable to build its own new facility, the Humane Society stepped forward. And we did that about 8.5 years ago. We borrowed money from USDA and we raised contributions to total another $100,000 to build the facility that we're all so proud of today. That's the facility that this county uses to house its animals. So I don't see us as an outside agency. Again, I see us as partners. The census at this facility has been growing steadily. May I continue?
Yes. So moved to remove
Go
the
ahead.
clock.
Pull the clock.
From 2007 to 2012, our intakes, the amount of animals coming in, went up 145%. And went up from 335 a year to 866. Now, in the last 3 months, despite our free spay-neuter program, which we had to beg people to take advantage of, our census has climbed another 40%. Those are animals that are coming to us through animal control. Our costs to operate that shelter, including our mortgage payment that we have to make to USDA of $20-some thousand every year, are over $200,000. That's the cost to run that facility, make the mortgage payment, pay the water, pay the electric, pay a skeleton staff. None of our volunteers are paid. Buy euthanasia medicine, which is used by us and the county. Feed the animals. That's what it takes to run that facility. So we would appeal to you. Our census is going up. Animal control is bringing us more and more animals all the time. We're doing our part. We're writing grants. We're trying to get the census down. Probably after I'm dead, we'll see the result of that. But right now, we're dealing with the climbing census. We're dealing with more business. We didn't ask you for more money this year. But if you cut our budget, I would say to you, what's going to happen when we run out of money? Where are those animals going to go when we don't have the money to stay open anymore? $12,000 doesn't seem like a lot to you. It's a whole lot of money to us. So I do have some ideas, though, about revenue, because I recognize the situation that the county's in right now. And I put this idea forward, I think, last year or the year before, is that we can ask the vacationing pet owners to purchase a pet permit. It could be administered through the rental agencies. When somebody rents a property, it could be part of that process. That also assures that the pet that's going out on the beach is up to date on vaccinations possibly, and also rabies. I have a hard time. I might take 2 dogs out on the beach at a time on leashes. It never fails that a vacationing person's dog runs up to my dogs, and in several instances has bitten my dogs because my dogs were on a leash and couldn't defend themselves. So I would like to know that that vacationing pet, when that happens, has a valid rabies, because guess what's going to happen to my dog if they don't? So that's one way to actually solve several problems. So one thing I would recommend is a permit possibly for vacationing pets. The permit could be extended to residents. I'm recommending vacationing pets. There are beaches in the Panhandle, well-known beaches, that do charge for permits. They have large signs as you enter the beach. You can bring your pet on the beach. These are the rules, and one of the rules is your pet has to have a permit. It's very, very rare in this state to find the expanse of pet-friendly beaches that we have in Gulf County. And I don't think it should be a burden on anyone to buy a permit to be able to take their pet on that beach. It helps pay for the pet waste stations, patrol, whatever. Another thing that you might consider is another type of license for the county. I know there's been a lot of opposition to that in the past, but those are ideas for revenue generation. And finally, I would just say that if you decided not to have a relationship with your local humane society and you decided to do this on your own, very likely you would spend 2 to 3 to 4 times as much money to take care of the animals as what you pay us. What you pay us currently is around $48,000. Our budget to run that facility on bare bones is over $200,000. So thank you for your time. I appreciate always your support.
Sandy, let me ask a question. It may touch home. I don't end any on this. So, the animals that you have over there, they're not there. My mother has a little old dog. He'll never be over there because he's cared for, just like yours and a lot more. The question is this: what is your retention time on the animals that can't be adopted? That's obviously, I deal a lot with, I'm Mr. Jones's helper in the north end because I have to go with him a lot.
Yeah.
Or he'll ask me to go with him. He'll say, you know, that dog right there will never find a home. How long do you?
We retain animals.
This is facts I'm asking. It's
No,
nothing.
that's a
It is
great
true
question.
facts.
It's a great
How long do
question.
you retain the animals that you know are not going to be adopted, or the ones? Don't you have a program where you ship some out and train them? I know you do up here through Gulf Sea and all, but go back to the original question.
We have
How long?
unadoptable, unhealthy, and aggressive animals that are euthanized as soon as possible. If an animal has been surrendered by an owner and it's a bite case, we're required, I believe by ordinance, to keep it for 10 days. After that 10 days, most of those animals are euthanized. Feral animals are euthanized fairly quickly as well. It's all Roland's judgment during the first 5 days because the Humane Society does not have custody of that animal until after 5 days. We're holding it for you. We're taking care of it for you, but it doesn't become our property until after the first 5 days. So there are animals that are euthanized for aggression, parvo, other diseases that spread very quickly. If we get a litter of puppies in and they have parvo, they have to be euthanized because they can infect the entire population. We're very picky about the animals that we decide to keep. An animal has to be in good health, it has to be adoptable, and it has to have a reasonable temperament. We look at all those criteria before we decide to keep an animal. Most of the dogs that are right now entering my next dogs in prison class have been there anywhere from 2 weeks to 5 months because we've developed a waiting list for some of those dogs. If they don't get adopted through the relationships I have with the rescue groups up north, the relationship we have with Broward County in the south, then if they have the appropriate temperament, we cycle them through dogs in prison. But we don't keep any animal that's unadoptable. If the animal cannot be adopted, it's not in the animal's best interest or ours to keep it. We don't believe in institutionalizing animals either, because that's not in the animal's best interest, and it results in an unadoptable animal.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Okay, sure, you have the floor.
With the argument that they are a partner, they're not an outside agency. They work directly with us. With that argument, Sandy, for now, I'm gonna pull my motion to cut that budget and leave it as it is for now, understanding that as we go through the weeks ahead, that, you know, we may have to cut some, but I understand the argument's a great argument, and I've said before that many of these agencies are providing a service that we can't. We did it ourselves. You're absolutely right. It would cost us 4 or 5 times more than what it was costing us. So I'm gonna pull my motion.
Thank you.
On comment,
Sure.
I'm looking at every one of these cuts that we're making. You get that department head, and nothing against you, Miss Sandy. Every department head could come up here and give us a good reason why we need to keep what we're cutting. But you guys know, I'm looking at this budget just like you guys looking at it. I don't want to cut nothing. But you know we got to make some cuts, or we're going to raise some taxes. Now, she just gave us an alternative. Why wouldn't it cost a person if they can't walk a dog on Panama City Beach? They leave Mexico Beach on the sidewalk, guys. They walk down the sidewalk till they get to the city limit, Gulf County line. Then they get on the beach and start walking in Gulf County. So why can't we put a permit there, something to offset this, what she's asking for? So I mean, that's something that I done brought it up several times.
I'm not opposed to that.
May I comment on this?
Mr. Smiley, I'm not
You got
opposed to it.
The only addition is that I like it, but what I would like to see if we're going to go that route, and we definitely need to come up with $12,000 somewhere. I don't know what we could generate in a year's time, but we need to do it across the board. Homeowners, you do it all. You know, don't pick on the tourists, or don't pick on the county, or pick on the city. Let's do it all if we're going to do it. That's my only argument.
When he said do it all, he said everybody who used the beach, right?
If they have a dog on that beach,
Yes.
they pay a permit.
I'm not opposed to that.
I don't have,
Just like the vehicles.
Yes.
yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
I mean, the guys who own the horses who walk on the beach, don't they have to have a permit?
Yes, I do.
They're supposed to.
Yes.
Here's what we had. If we don't raise this money up, you know, they do an excellent, super job with that Humane Society. This is in jeopardy right here. We've got to find some alternative there to help raise this money. Now, I'm a good fish fryer. You know, I don't have a problem with doing benefits, whatever we need to do, help raise money for this. But Mr. Smiley is absolutely correct. Each and every one of you or whatever could come up here and explain why we don't need to why we don't need to cut. But we're going to have to cut. Somewhere we've got to trim this thing down, or either we got to raise the millage through the roof. We don't want to do that.
I think the difference in the Humane Society, Mr. Chairman, is we have a contract with them. They provide a service specifically by contract to the county for this service. So it's a little different than any other of the other agents. Sure, I mean, I'm sure Miss Mary could come up and give a passion plea for the library and all those kinds of things. But I think in this situation, we've got an existing contract with Humane Society. I'm for fulfilling that contract and trying to find the money elsewhere.
And not only, Mr. Chairman, if we don't try to fund this or whatever, if they back out of our contract or whatever, then we're going to spend some money now. We're going to spend some money. So this $12,000, I think we can find ways to make it up.
So my biggest thing, I don't want to just, now, let's not talk about cutting them. Let's look at another way of bringing in the funds.
Okay.
And just forget about cutting it. I mean, let's come up with another way or do something outside the box.
I agree. Mr. Chairman, can I say one more thing?
Wait a minute.
Hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
Over here, go ahead.
If you rent a rental place out on the beach and you let them know that you got a dog, you pay the cleaning person extra to clean up that house. If you bring your car to Smiley's Detailing and you let your dog live in it, you pay Smiley extra to get your car clean. And it's just the fact that people look at their dogs like they kids. I mean, if a person bring their dog on vacation, they'll pay that little extra money for them to be on vacation with them.
All right, I know where we're going here, okay. Is that fine with you,
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Smiley? You all right?
Yeah,
Commissioner McLemore?
motion to leave it
All right,
in.
just a minute, let me go over here.
Let me say one more thing. Mr. Smiley, you're absolutely correct. But I have argued for 6 or 7 years for alternative sources of revenue, and I have not got 1 second.
I
Now,
understand.
you're fixing to get an opportunity on the 5-cent gas tax coming up, and alternative sources of revenue is the way to get back to the point that we're not taxing only our property owners.
And you got my support.
Okay, all right, I hear you.
Okay, all right, yeah, here, let's go here to Commissioner Bryan. Sure.
I know you've all talked about the user fees over the past couple of years, and we've had that animal control ordinance in front of you all, and Miss Sandy's worked with us. I think we had 5 or 6 actual committee meetings, and there's language in there about licenses, but I hear the commissioners, I know today is a long budget discussion, when you guys get back to that issue someday, but I would just encourage you all, when you talk about user fees, the baseline for that public safety argument on licensing is a renter's dog coming up on the beach versus an owner's dog. There has to be a baseline. So the county adopts a uniform approach. You know that residents have already licensed and vaccinated their dogs on an annual basis. Then you can take it a step further in terms of public safety and talk about renters that come to the county and buy a 1-week tag or a beach tag or whatever. But there needs to be a baseline on that public safety argument. And I just encourage you all, and I know we've worked with Sandy and we've had that, and it is a hot topic in terms of how you charge for that. But that user fee would start here in Gulf County and then build from that to your beaches. So we can work on it another day. I just want to encourage you all to do that.
Okay.
I just have one comment. If we do look at that option, I would like to know what we would project as the revenue based on a cost of a license and the cost to administer the program of issuing licenses, maintaining the records, and the opportunity for law enforcement to enforce a license. And what comes to me right off the bat is that we have a leash license, and it is not enforced, and it's not that they don't want to enforce it, we just don't have the manpower to enforce it. If someone is walking on the beach with their dog off leash, it's very easy to see that, and we still don't have the manpower to enforce that. In order to enforce the license, you would have to approach the person and find out if they actually have the license. So at first blush, it may seem like a way to bring in revenue, but I would like to take it down and look to see if it actually would bring in revenue or end up costing us.
Well, that's good. Well, I put it in there if you're not going to enforce it, or it costs you more. Well, I don't have my permit with me. Well, quarter of a mile up here, so. All right, you withdrew your motion. All right, you pulled yours. Anything else?
Just one quick thing.
Sure.
As we were speaking, you might want to look at the fines that the county charges people and maybe look and see when was the last time you increased the fines, because when an animal comes to us and then it's returned to its owner, then the county levies the fine. We get the note from Roland, the person comes to the shelter, we fill out all the paperwork, we hand them their dog, after they pay the fine. So you might want to look at those fines as a revenue source.
There you go, that's good, Sandy.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, clarification, we're going to leave the Humane Society as is. Okay.
25% reduction to senior citizens in the amount of $8,500.
Mr. Chairman, I've always said, if you take care of the kids and you take care of the old folks, generally all the rest of us can take care of ourselves.
Well,
I want to study this one a little bit before I make a
I
motion
am
on
too.
this.
I just,
I'm gonna,
No disrespect now, we just took care of the dogs, I know we can take care of the old people.
I'm not going to. Okay. We can rush through this right quick. Do I have a motion to, cut the 8,500 from senior citizens? Yeah, just, sure. All right. Senior citizens will remain as is.
Next item, Mr. Chairman, is non-sponsored veterans transportation, reduction of $4,654.
and that's 25% of that total funding?
Yes, sir.
Don, you may want to explain for educational purposes too, that this is transportation that can't be covered anywhere else but other than the taxpayer dollars. Can you give us a little rundown?
Maybe a little bit of history on it. This is, the majority of this money, this is $16,000, $18,000. Majority of this, I think 12,000, came into play probably 10 or 12 years ago when the gentleman approached the county commission and said, vets need some money to travel to Lake City, to Gainesville, to Tallahassee, to Biloxi, to the nursing homes, to the hospitals, to the clinics. And I think that night, the county commission gave $12,000 increase, based on what he told you. And that's where the amount of money came from, because before then, it was 12,000 less than that. But this is the non-sponsored vet transportation, and I would say they could probably use an unlimited amount of money, but what we're doing here is just taking the outside agencies and cutting 25% for your consideration. So, not saying that any of these are not needed or are needed, but yes, your consideration.
Okay.
I put the motion on the floor.
Motion on the floor.
Second.
Second by Commissioner McLemore. Any more discussion here with members? Anyone from outside opposition? Cut the non-sponsored veterans transportation by $4,654 passes. Next.
Next item, Mr. Chairman, is Agency for Retarded Citizens, reduction of 25% in the amount of $1,763.
Motion? Yes.
Second.
Second by Commissioner. Discussion, anybody from the audience, any opposition? Reduction of $1,763. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, your next item is the Health Department 25% reduction in the amount of $14,874.
By Commissioner McLemore.
Second.
Second by Yeager. Board discussion. Anyone in the audience? Opposition? Motion passed 5-0. Reduction of $14,874.
Next item, Mr. Chairman, is the funding that Parks and Recreation that the board funds for T.L. James Park, 25% reduction in the amount of $3,418.
Motion by Commissioner Miley.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bryan. Any further discussion? Discussion? You what? You vote no. All right, wait a minute. Any more discussion here on the board? Anybody from the audience? Motion passed. Anyone?
I want to discuss it just.
Sure.
This should go back to the same thing that I was talking about with our Humane Society. We got lots of nice parks in our community, and they must be taken care of. We got 40 acres of land there in St. Joe Beach. During the holidays or the summer months, when people come in with their RVs, they parked all on the side of the road. Now, the way I was looking at it, I was just listening to you, Mr. McDaniel, you was speaking about the park up on the north end of the county, and the revenue that you was pulling off in, park in the north end of the county.
Can I interrupt you just a moment? This isn't a camping area, this is a ball field.
I'm talking about all the parks.
Okay, all right,
What I'm saying is,
okay,
I'm talking about all the parks.
sure, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Huh? No.
Not really right.
Can we get
No,
some
we-
clarification? Is this money paid to the city of Wee Wall?
Yes.
You know, I mean, we spend a lot of money on county money on TL James. I'm not opposed to pulling that. I mean,
They're still gonna leave
your
them.
work crew takes care of it and all that.
Let me see the number here. I think it's around 13,000, so we're cutting them by 25%.
That is correct.
We're cutting them 25%, so that's still gonna leave them $10,000
Yes, sir.
that we're supporting their ball field.
Yes, sir.
Don't we pay for water and
We pay for
Sewer.
water down at, now, we've got, down at Honeyville Park, which has come online after we started paying them. So we've got ball fields down there, and we're paying the city for water,
yeah, I'm not opposed to cutting this.
and, we do a lot of road patching up there, and we do a lot of limb truck work, a lot of, anyway.
Well, guys, you know we got some nice parks in our county, and if we go slacking up on our parks, they're gonna really get in bad shape, and you know.
This is a city park, and
I understand that.
they generate money too, through city taxes and all. And- Okay, got a motion? Made the you make the motion? You second it,
I
didn't
did.
you? You second it, sorry, apologize. Is there any further discussion on this? Anybody from the audience on this, putting this, TL James Park and Weaver Hitch go by $3,418? If not, you, Mr. McLemore, did you say you voting no, or? All right, so this motion passes 4-1. All right, let's go back over here.
Next item, Mr. Chairman, is your clerk of court budget reduction of $6,248.
Basically, gentlemen, this was what I'd put in for raises for my employees. I understand the condition that the county is in. However, as a lot of these things are worthy, my employees are worthy of a raise as well. They work hard, and I know it's tough times, so we were asked to put it in if we wanted it during our budget workshops, so this is what it is for my office.
Vicki, have you been able to give them raises over the past?
I did last year when the county funded raise countywide.
All right. Got a motion to cut $6,248 from the clerk of the court. Motion, I hear a second. Second right here, Commissioner. Further discussion here with the board. Anyone else from the audience? Any opposition? Opposition?
Chairman, the next
5-0.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay,
if Mr. Attorney could, we don't have it on the list, but Port, on an outside agency, it's not an agency of the county commission. If the attorney could talk to you about Port, because we have no money in this budget for what the Port Authority asked you for last week. That's what he's passing out now.
okay, that's on there, we'll freeze on this, the next one will be the 10% utilities, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Attorney?
Mr. Chairman,
Here.
you were working on outside agencies. You had 7 of them you reviewed. Last week, you all commented on the budget notes. I'd indicated I was still meeting with the Port Authority, Mr. Gibson. I've copied you all in the correspondence, and I've provided you all copies of what I sent you over the past few days as I've received it from the Port Authority. Mr. Gibson was kind enough to join us this afternoon, and I know he's busy. I asked him to come at 2:30, but in lieu of his schedule, I was hoping that we could at least deal with this eighth outside agency on this topic, and then hopefully get him on his way. So, just to give you a recap where we were at last week, I indicated we are still discussing with them. You had all called a special meeting the week prior, the Thursday, the first week of July. You all attended that meeting where the Port Authority came in and discussed their current financial expenditures and anticipated revenues. They provided you a financial statement, and I had attended that Port Authority meeting the day prior. They advertised publicly in the local Star for financing of a line of credit up to $500,000. They had received some responses, or a response, and at that meeting I had asked for the opportunity to have them come and at least make a presentation to you all, which they did last week, or the week prior. What I've handed you all is an updated financial statement from the Port Authority, as well as some correspondence from Mr. Gibson indicating where they're at since our last meeting and their last commission meeting, indicating what their financial obligations are anticipated for the next 5 years. As you can see, going down on the estimated annual draws, they've itemized for each of you what their anticipated expenditures are. You can see in 2014, they have the county's payment on there in addition to their other anticipated expenditures. But we wanted to hopefully have you at least address the issue. They have their next meeting this Wednesday. You all have another meeting tomorrow morning, but to give them a response to go back to their Port Commission with on Wednesday so that they have a full complement of offers and responses, not only what they've received, but also if this commission entertains any kind of additional support, you can all take action on that, incorporate it in your budget, and give us some direction to go back on Wednesday morning and discuss it with the Port Authority.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not prepared to get into this today now. I'm just not prepared for it.
Mr. Chairman, what I would say is this. I think we're a partner with the port, and we have been from day one.
Yes, we
We've
voted
given a-
last meeting. We
voted
100%
last meeting
or
to
last suspected.
find $50,000 over the next couple of years. I think we should, we'll find it. To keep, that port is critical, I think, not only to Gulf County and Port St. Joe, but to the region. And we want to keep moving along. So I would say put it back in their court that what we've already offered, I don't see us being able to go this particular amount over the next 4 or 5 years. So what I would say is just put it back to the vote of the port commissioners. It's their decision. At the end of the day, it's their decision on what they need and what they can do. And let's move forward as this board's already agreed to.
The only problem, Mr. Yeager, right here, 2014, they're looking at 106,000. We're not agreeing to go 106,000, and we're not agreeing for them to go out and get a private sector to come in here.
Well, I think, again, it's going to be their decision. I think we've already agreed that we would allot 50,000 over the next couple of years to help them. But was that the number?
Well, you all instructed me to work with their attorney and find out what their needs were, and then to come back to you all prior to their meeting this Wednesday. Now, Mr. Gibson can't join us tomorrow morning, so if there's information or questions you have, today would be the day to ask it. But I'd also ask for you all, not only for your budget, but to give me the ability to go back and discuss with them. They need to know what the county's offer is in black and white. And I provided you environmentals, I provided you the financials. Hopefully he can answer any more questions that you have. But the county's position on Wednesday, we should articulate that so we can at least extend to them a response. They made a public advertisement. They received responses. The county now has that opportunity based on your meeting, that special meeting you had the Thursday before last. Today with Mr. Gibson here, or tomorrow morning, provide me some direction so I can go there on Wednesday and at least articulate exactly what your offer is to them. A couple years, I need you all to define the dollar amount, the interest rate, the dollar, what are the requirements? I know you've discussed about additional security in the Arizona chemical site. I provided you some information on that property as well.
Mayor,
All
Mr.
right,
Chairman.
and I want to address
Yeah,
this.
Mayor.
I'm not satisfied.
Here's where I'm at with this after our discussion and our meeting last week with this.
That's Wednesday.
Yeah, whatever. I want to keep the port going. I don't, but I'm not going to go out there and fund things like $40,000 for attorney's fee and this and that and first one thing and another. They're, from what we were told, we're talking $50,000 or $60,000 a year to keep their insurance up. But whatever, I'm agreeable with that. But anything above that, I'm out. I can tell y'all. That's taxpayers' money that we're spending.
Two things. Number one, Commissioner Bigger said we can get the 50,000. It's not that we have hidden money, that's taxpayer money. We just have to reach over here and maybe a reserve fund. But I left here, I've been upset with this whole mess from day one. Now, there's 5 board members on the Port Authority. And who is your contact?
Mr. Raphael.
Okay, each one. I was told Mr. Costin's mine, and then
Well,
fourth year, I fought with him twice.
Officially, it's Miss Loretta Austin.
She's not on the board.
Okay, I'm confused,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, if I got an issue with the port, I call Mr. Raphael.
Well, my contact is supposed to be Mr. Costin. We've talked twice. I went to his office once, and he called me, and going on 4 years. But here's the thing. This board has been over backwards. We sat right here and gave this Port Authority $199,000 to keep them afloat. Can anyone tell me where it went? It's gone. Now they come back. We've been a friend of theirs. We've stood by this port, and the Port Authority members seem like they want to shun us. They don't want to do anything with us. I think I know what's behind all this. Out here today, I know exactly what's behind all this. We're not going to have a port till the St. Joe Company says it. The ships are not going to pull down here to Raffles or pull down here to Presnell. They got to pull right over there and dock up to the St. Joe Company's property. This is something else, people. Now, I left here last Wednesday feeling assured that we would come back, that we had a vote, across the board vote, that we would support this port fully. They said, listen, we can probably operate. We need 50, somewhere in the number of 50,000. Now, they operate in the sunshine. That's my understanding. I don't know how they operate, but that's my understanding. They operate in the sunshine. Then they come back and need 106. Now, when did they have a meeting? Who made the decision to bump this? There's a lot of fishy stuff going on with this port.
Need to back up. I'm telling you, we need to back up with this. I don't have a problem with $50,000 or $60,000 a year. We've got the money to do that. Pay the insurance, keep them afloat. I'm not paying nobody's salary.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Gibson's here,
Yes.
so hopefully he can answer some questions or give you guys some more input, so that you all can give me some direction to go back with Mr. Gibson to the Port Authority on Wednesday.
Welcome back, Tom.
Tom, come on. I'm
Glad to be
I
here.
offended you, but I'm telling you, every time we seem like we're going to get the, first down, we get a 5-yard penalty. I don't know where to go. I don't know where to pass, kick the ball, or what to do.
The number that has been kicked around for a while, $50,000, $60,000, is basically insurance, some minimal office costs. And when we started seriously looking at trying to get some financing for operating costs, we sat down and we said, what are the real numbers? I mean, we owe you $10,300. We owe Lewis Longman and Walker $39,410. We owe Ralph Robertson $5,000. We owe the insurance company $12,000 and change. The Ports Council, I have not talked to Eugene Raphael, but Eugene went to the Ports Council meeting last week, and my understanding is that they are willing to not waive this year's dues, but to defer them until we develop some operating income. In 2015, there is $40,000 out there for legal work to develop the port tariffs. The port can't charge any fees, can't create any income until those tariffs are in place. And it's a fairly specialized area of the law. It's well above my pay grade. That's the estimate of what it's going to cost to do that. And so we started looking at what the real number was, so that we could be ready to go into operation when this canal gets dredged. And
And the dredging project, it needed at least 2 years out, Tom? Hopefully by 2 years, but at least 2 years?
Our hope is by the end of 2015. The dredge disposal study is almost complete. DEP has dredge permit applications on their desk, and we anticipate, and of course we're at the state's mercy and the Corps of Engineers' mercy, but we anticipate permits to dredge that channel by the end of the year.
But we're wanting $40,000 right now to go ahead and hire somebody so we can go ahead and charge somebody if the time needs.
No.
Is that correct?
No, the process of getting those tariffs in place is a several-month process. We'd like to start that process 6 months before the end of the channel being dredged. Some kind of timeline like that. And so that's next year's $40,000. It's going to have to come from somewhere. And we knew when we sent this out that this was a lot more money than anybody's been talking about. I mean, nothing I can say about that.
And, Mr. Chairman, I think that's, kind of the discussions that I've understood, that you really didn't know what you needed over the years. You can put this estimate together. At the end of the day, this estimate may be short, or it may be over.
Right.
But I think what this board talked about, what we're able to do, and then y'all have to make that decision. The way I see it, Mr. Chairman, they'll have to make the decision on which direction they go from there. But I think what we've kind of discussed, that we would provide $50,000 to $60,000 over the next 2 years. I would suggest that we give the attorney the authority to go and formally present that. And if that's something that the Port Authority thinks that they can live with over the next 2 years, then let them vote on it and say yay or nay. And, it's no hard feelings towards it. They're a port, they're a council just like we're a council.
Right.
And they have to make those decisions. But I think what I'm hearing from this board, we're willing to do $50,000 or $60,000 a year over the next 2 years. And I think, I thought we put that in the form of a motion before, but if we haven't, let's put that in the form of a motion, let our attorney go negotiate with them. And if they're good with that, that's fine. If they're not, now, I understand that they have made the kind of commitment that they would put us on a they'd give us some collateral for the 200 and
That's
for the other that we give, and that's the main thing.
Bring you current, give you collateral.
Yeah, and so let's just proceed with, instead of getting in a
Yeah, and it's my understanding, Mr. Yeager, also that, up to 2 years, we may even go further than that.
If they come back 2
see
years,
where we at with the dredging. This is what all this bases on, is the dredging.
Sure.
If we don't get that channel dredged, none of this.
Just because they committed money don't mean it, that's just.
None of this is any good.
Let me go, and then I'm gonna recognize, Commissioner Bryan here. Tom, this is a part, and I'm gonna just lay it on the line to you, flat out. Gave the board, talking about the Port Authority Board, we gave them our taxpayers' money out there. Went through a foreclosure. We're coming back and we're offering more of the taxpayers' money. Constraint. But the way I'm seeing it, and I hope I'm wrong, but and when I'm wrong, I'll admit it. We're offering you some money at a low interest rate, but you saying, no, I'm gonna go out here and get private money at 10%. I'm gonna refuse you, and all we want is just some collateral to back us up. We want to be a part of this. We want the people in it. Now, as I said before, you can bring us our money. Don't have a dog and hunt anymore, but it's odd to me, every time we make a proposal to you, we pop up with a counter proposal. It looks like you don't want us to be a part of you. I wish Mr. Costin was here. That's the one I want to really.
Here's the problem, and it's the same thing y'all been talking about all day. If we've got to have $100,000, and y'all are going to give us 50, we got to find 50 somewhere else. I mean,
I understand this, but the bottom line, we left here last meeting with the understanding, we would operate 100. So somebody comes up with 300,000 over, and the board, the port board said that, look, we got a 2-year, or it's history. So we said, we'll help you 2 years, may go further. It's make or break, 2 years. All right. You don't pay us back our 200,000, at least the people out there's got some security. They got some collateral.
No argument
But if you
with
don't
at all.
put us in there at some end, you want some money? I'll loan you some money.
Okay.
And if you don't pay me back, guess what? I'm gonna foreclose on you.
Okay.
And then
We
I'm
have
gonna
some
wind up
experience with that.
I'm gonna wind up with $2 million of property out there. I'm not trying to play hardball. I'm looking at this thing from every angle.
I understand, and
All right.
your job is to look at it.
I gotta look
from
at
the
these
county
taxpayers
commission's
out
angle.
here, and I think we've dropped the ball a little bit on the 199,000. I just used 200,000.
And-
Okay.
And Leonard's job and my job and the other
I know.
port commissioner's
I know.
job is to look at it from the Port Authority standpoint. And
Thank
so,
you. And I've said my say. Now I'm gonna, if you want any more, I'll give you. If not, I'm gonna go right over here to
Let's go
Commissioner
there.
Bryan. Okay,
I just have a-
It's all yours.
Thank you. I just have a couple of questions. To go back to the environmental, we were provided the EDR radius map report and a letter from DEP.
okay,
Okay. The report is really just the first step of a Phase 1 inquiry, and actually does state in the body of the document that it's for illustrative purposes only and should not be relied upon to assess any environmental risk. Now, the letter from the DEP is where my question comes in. It appears that the letter from 2005 is focused on a particular leak that happened at the site and was then contained and cleaned, and the DEP said it was cleaned to their standards, if I'm understanding
I
it
read the
correctly.
same thing. Yep, Arizona side, a tallow oil spill there.
I would just want the assurances, typically in a commercial deal, if I'm representing a lender, and we are looking at being in the position of a lender, I would require a full Phase 1 and likely on a chemical site of Phase 2. I can't imagine a chemical site passing a Phase 1 by virtue of being a chemical site. But I guess I would be looking to the county attorney for guidance there on whether this e-letter only pertains to that spill or if it pertains to the site. And are you in a place where you're comfortable environmentally for that loan? I don't expect you to answer right now, but prior to us entering into.
I'll comment when you're done with yours. I'll talk to that.
My other question has to do with the tariffs. And my understanding, and I may be wrong, but my understanding is you're looking at tariffs for use of the shipping channel, and that is the intended revenue to the port. Okay.
Yeah.
Do we know for certain that the port can collect those tariffs? I understood that the Corps, who maintains the channel, collects the tariffs for the use of the channel to pay for the maintenance of the channel. So do we have some assurance that the port can actually have revenue from those tariffs? And if so, how would they administer that?
I don't know the answer to that question at this point.
Are there any other sources of revenue that the port is looking at other than those tariffs on the shipping channel?
Well, the port has some ability to assess benefited property. They have, in the event that they own waterfront property, they have dockage and wharfage fees that they can charge. There was some discussion a while back when there was a large appropriation in the state budget to improve the bulkheads, the mill site bulkheads, about how to get that into, basically into public ownership so the state could put some money into it and the port could benefit from it. So there's some options.
But my understanding is the dockage and wharfage wharfage fees can only be charged by the port if it owns the waterfront property or has an interest in the waterfront property.
That's true. And of course, all of the rail will cross port property, so there'll be some potential there.
Which is only the Arizona Chemical
Right.
property. And then, one more.
You go.
I just want to make the point that I understand you have a private lender that is interested in lending the funds to Port. We're sitting here at budget, we're cutting important services that the public relies on today. And it seems to me that and I don't need to tell you how to do your business, but if a private lender is willing to step up and the public taxpayer doesn't have to fund the money, the one thing we need to keep in mind is if you do go with a private lender and you don't make your payments and they step up to foreclose on you, the county can always step in and assist you at that point as well to avoid the loss of the property. It's not the end of the line if a private lender lends them funds. They still have to enter into an agreement, and the court would have to breach that agreement. And if they were on the verge of breaching the agreement, the county could step up and help them at that time. That's all I have.
Anyone? Well, we're going back to the original. Anyone, I recognize, just a moment. Tom, do you have anything else?
I don't have anything else.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, to address Commissioner Bryan's questions, one on the environmental, I'm not today prepared to make a comment with regards to environmental evaluation of the property. I know Tom just stepped down, but unless I haven't heard anything else, I believe this is the port's only asset for security and collateralizing this loan and any kind of future financial commitment you all make to them. So if you give us that instructions and make a gesture or an offer today that I carry forward, you incorporate it in your proposed budget, you set your millage accordingly, on Wednesday they're either going to accept or deny your offer, okay? But at that time, if they do, then we'll get into it, and they'll be subject to an environmental assessment. We'll make sure we have that phase 1, phase 2, and there'll also be conditions in that mortgage modification. We'll have them sign certain documents, obviously, covering that. But I will get into that at a later date if we get to that point.
All right, let me hold right there. Anything else, sir?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
There's just 4 questions I have for you as commissioners today, and we can move forward with the budget. It was one, is your terms. I need to know how many years you're committing to the Port Authority. I need to know how much per year. I need to know at what rate you'd like to offer them this support. And then the modification to the current mortgage and note, we'll do a mortgage modification. We'll add the additional collateral. It won't be subject to the CDBG loan agreement. It'll just be an independent line of credit. This year, the reason we're talking about it right now is because you're talking about budget and you have to plug this number in or you're not. And then tomorrow morning, you won't be discussing budget, presumably you'll be talking county business, and then Wednesday, they're going to entertain these offers. So I apologize, but this is the only time that we have the opportunity to talk about it, because you have to know whether it's a $50,000 or $60,000 commitment. If you can give me those answers to those 4 things, this year, you'll plug it into your budget if they accept it, but also that line of credit's going to obligate this county and these taxpayers for however many years you put on there. So that will be the line of credit and the note that we structure.
Can I make
Thank
some
you.
suggestions to those? And it's just suggestions for board discussion, but I would suggest that we commit $60,000 a year for the next 2 years, as long as it's collateralized.
60,000,
I would suggest that we charge the same interest rate that we charge on the
maximum of 2 years at an interest rate of
3%, I believe is
3%.
what we have. Is that 3%? I would
Yes.
suggest 3% on those funds. I would suggest that we look at the environmental impacts of that and let the attorney guide us in that. What were the other 2 questions that you needed?
That was the 3 of the 4, and that helps me. And obviously Sherry Lynn, Becky Wall know what numbers based on that to plug in here.
And here's where I stand, guys. Basically, it's going to be the Port Authority's decision. They've got a commission, and they've got to make the decision on that. I'm willing for the county to do that. Now, other question that I have Don, we've got the money from the EDA, that it's not ad valorem money, but it is that included in cash carry forward money, the money that we?
No, no.
So,
It's in
so in
the
other
fund.
words, if we use that money.
Industrial park.
Industrial park money, we're not using
Taxpayers.
taxpayers' money, or we're not increasing necessarily the millage. So I would suggest that this board use
Wanna
those
use
funds,
industrial park money,
industrial
is that-
park funds, so we're not affecting the millage, because the millage is killing
Oh,
us right
okay.
now. But I would suggest that. And if the board kind of feels comfortable with that, at some point, I'll put that in form of a motion.
I'm comfortable with it.
Further comment on?
Yeah, I got someone, I thought I saw a hand back up. Oh, yeah. Okay, do we want to address, well, let's go ahead then. You want a motion on that? We're going back to what
For
your
discussion?
original for this, all right? We got the motion here,
Second.
got a discussion, any further discussion here?
You got it clarified?
I have,
Let her get it.
I want to say, Don and I had that conversation. I would just ask that possibly the board make that contingent upon attorney review, just to make sure that it's eligible. He may already know that answer, but it seems reasonable. It is industry development, and it's supposed to be used for that, but,
I'll include that in my motion for county attorney review.
I just have one
Sure, go
comment. And what concerns me, and I am supportive of the port and the proper development of the port, but we have a port authority that has no waterfront land, and I cannot find where the revenue comes in. And we don't know that there is any revenue source, even in 5 years. It's St. Joe's land, and we could be putting more money out after the 199 and never collect anything because they can't find revenue. And it concerns me to put more money after the 199, and even if it's from the EDA money, it all starts from the taxpayers. All of it is. Well, yeah, the collateral is there, but we don't know for certain that it's collateral that we would want to get. So we definitely want to look at it environmentally. But aside of that, it's still taxpayers' dollars going out.
Mr. Chairman. Just quick comment. One thing that I think we all can look at, and we all know this, if we get that port in place, we're going to have jobs in Gulf County. So we can sit back and say we were a major part in helping bring jobs into the county. So I look at that in the long run. I understand the dollar amount, and I'm with you. But I want to throw that out there too.
All right, any more discussion? Now, out in the, anyone in the audience? Before we.
Hold on, Mr. Chairman.
Hi, guys.
That means barbecue. Hey,
Chris,
good morning.
Kristen
Good evening.
McElroy,
Yeah.
1311 Woodward Avenue, Port St. Joe. As someone, a taxpayer, that has, of course, attended all of these meetings and also attended port meetings for about the last 2.5, 3 years, I know for a fact that we've got your commitment to make sure that that port works, that is our economic engine. My concern at this point, and I want to go ahead and go on the record with this, is having attorneys for the county and the port kind of just jockey back and forth. I think this is, no offense to both the attorneys, they're both fine gentlemen, they're both fine attorneys, but this is such a critical issue. You had a meeting over a month ago that the Port Authority and the county and the city was there. Nothing was brought up about any needs of money. The chairman of the port said, oh, keep us in mind during budget. If I'm going to somebody that has the goal, I'm going to be saying, these are what our needs are. You gentlemen and lady have just received information that is in the 11th hour of what the needs are. It wasn't the same information you received a week and a half ago. At this point, what I would ask as a taxpayer and somebody who cares about our economic engine and a relationship between our valuable county commission and our valuable port authority is for you guys to set up a special meeting once again and hash this out. And everybody needs to be coming to the table and hearing the same information that is relevant and accurate before any ultimatums or last-minute, numbers are thrown out there. I think it's that critical. And I would hate for us to not support the Port Authority. And Commissioner Bryan, there's a lot of infrastructure on that Arizona Chemical property. That's correct?
That's correct.
Water, gas line,
Yeah.
weights. So it is more than just a piece of property that doesn't touch water. It's got a ton of infrastructure. And because of that, I would hate for this to just not be addressed between the two important commissions. That's all I got.
Okay. Good points, thank you. We're ready. Okay, you want to read the motion back? Clear on it? We're going to,
Motion is $60,000 a year for 2 years, 3% interest, using the funds from the EDA contingent upon the attorney's review.
yeah. And the environmental. Okay. All right.
And Mr. Chairman, I think this is a start. I take Christie's comments that, we may very well have some more meetings with Port Authority, but this is a start for us to start, for our two attorneys to get together and see if.
I have no objection, we're fixing to call for the vote when somebody calls for it. I have no objection to us sitting down with another meeting, and getting this. I'm kind of agree here with colleague Commissioner Bryan. Sometimes we make big hasty decisions in short times, and this is one, this could affect the county for a long time. We want to be a part of this port. We deserve to be a part of it. And on call for the vote. Have any opposition to the motion? No opposition? Passed 5-0. Mr. Attorney?
Thank you, sir.
You please, you will attend the meeting
I will be there.
Wednesday, and when it clearly understood that this board bend over backward to help. Just keep everything on the table and valid with us. Thank you, sir. All right, now we're going back over here to Miss Lanier, and I think we're going to pick up. Does anybody want to take a little short break, or you want to get out of here before midnight?
Get out of here before.
Okay. Miss Lanier, let's, if anyone does,
We gotta go frog tonight.
okay, Miss Lanier, let's go back to you on the 10% utilities.
Yes, sir. It's a reduction of $24,000 that I believe we may be able to reduce if there are no increases in fees for utilities for the next year. I believe we can save $24,000.
Support that. We can do it right here in this boardroom. Just turn that air conditioner.
It's not quite so chilly today. We turned it up.
Okay, do I have a
Hey,
motion?
you can hang meat in here.
I have a motion. Got a motion by Commissioner Miley. Have a second on, got a second by Commissioner McLemore. Any further discussion here? Anyone in the audience? Give Commissioner just a moment.
She's good.
You good? Okay, then motion passed. Okay, all right, 5-0 to a 24,000 reduction in utilities. Next,
The next item is a reduction of $11,893 that the committee recommended to increase veteran service hours. So we will not increase those hours and leave it at 20 hours per week for a reduction of $11,893.
we'll leave the Veterans at 20 hours, okay.
Be nice to have that additional day, but, you know, we haven't to cut,
Okay.
so I'd motion to cut.
I got a motion by Commissioner McLemore. Second. A second by Commissioner Smiley. Further discussion on it?
Just in discussion, I'd like to talk to Joe myself, just to get some feeling of,
Okay,
I'm good with the cut.
good with the cut. All right, anyone from the audience, opposition? $11,893. Reduction passed 5-0.
Next item, Mr. Chairman, is the reduction of $50,000 that was used this year for supervisor election roof that was not taken out in the previous.
That's already been,
It was expended this year and it was inadvertently, we discovered afterwards that money was still in there, so.
okay, so we just.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
moved.
Second.
Well, you got it.
Got it. Anybody, any further discussion on this, anything? I see we got someone from the, get your roof on, get all you say. Great, thank you. All right, motion passed 5-0.
The next is the $60,000 for the public works vans for the work crews.
And so, Joe, that'll leave some in there for,
60.
52, it'll leave 52. It was 112 total, because his intention was to roll over 60,000 for the vans for next year, so that'll leave him 52,000 to purchase vans next year.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
All right, motion.
All right?
Well, just for clarification, and Joe can explain, I believe it was 4,000 for the trailers and 56 for the vans. Is that right, for a total of 60,000?
so you'll have 52,000 left in there, but you want to expend 60.
Well, we don't know what the bids are gonna come in at on the state level yet.
Okay.
Okay.
It may come in a little bit higher than that, but
All right, did I hear a motion?
Yes.
Commissioner McLemore, motion. Here, second.
I'm good with that. Second.
Second by Yeager. Any other discussion on board members, any from audience, any opposition? Not. We will cut 60,000 public works on vans, pass 5-0. Next,
Next is a 24,000 reduction. We will not purchase any stormwater pipe next year.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
motion.
Joe, does that mean we won't, I'll second for discussion. Does that mean we won't, or Mark, this may be a question for you. That means we won't purchase any stormwater pipe, or we just cut 24,000 that was extra in there for special projects?
this is 24,000 that was anticipated because we've had to buy so many stormwater pipes over this past year.
So we're going by what we've been purchasing over the last year or two.
Yes. We'll just punt.
There again, guys, I know a lot of counties that charge a MSBU for stormwater. And I know we're doing a study, and we'll, but it's not gonna help us this year, but those alternative sources of revenue, as Mr. Smiley mentioned, are available to us that eventually we're gonna have to do.
I agree with that. Some of the larger counties down south do several MSBU's to handle all kinds of things, even mosquito control.
And I think that's where we're headed, Joe. Okay. Well,
All right.
I'm good.
Good. Any more discussion here with the board members? Anyone in the audience? Any opposition? Not to cut $24,000 for stormwater pipe purchase. 5-0. Next.
Next is a $20,000 reduction. That would, for Mr. Yeager at the last budget meeting. That's what we anticipate that the lobbyist has decreased their contract by.
And I'm gonna try to get a little bit more there, but I think I feel comfortable with the 20 now, so moved.
Motion over here. Second, Commissioner Bryan. Any further?
Mr.
discussion?
Yeager, we need at least another $12.50 from Humane Society. Work on them hard.
I'll work on them hard.
Yeah.
I'll work on them hard.
All right. Anything from the audience? Opposition? Not. The $20,000 decrease in the lobbyist contract passes. 5-0.
Next is to deduct the raises for the Supervisor of Elections Office in the amount of $1,950.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Moore.
I'll second it. We did give raises this past year, correct? We're just in a bind. Give us, if we find some money, we'll somehow get it back to all the constitutional officers, because, you know, we've got some folks working for pretty small wages, so just give us some time to look for all the constitutional officers. We'll work on it.
Okay, motion, your second stands there. Any further discussion on the board? Anyone from the audience? Opposition? Cut $1,950 from the supervisor of elections for raises. This is 5-0.
Next item is to cut the additional hours that the supervisor of elections added in the amount of $1,690.
Move, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Commissioner McLemore. Second by Commissioner Bryan. Further discussion? Anyone in the audience, please, come up. Come on up.
Gene McCrone, representing John Hanlon. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, that money, I just wanted to explain what it's about. That's
Sure.
so, since we're 3 part-time people, and we're only allocated 21 hours a week for each of us, around election time, we need the ability to flex up to full-time employees during that period of time. That takes care of early voting the week of and the week after the election, and also to get absentees out. And that money will cover us for those additional hours.
So let me understand, all three of you employees
He
are.
does not have a full-time.
We have no full-time employees, and therefore, you know, we have no insurance cost for any of our employees. And we actually have one employee who has no retirement cost either. So those hours allows us to
This is
flex
during
up
the
just
election.
to cover election time. Yes.
But now,
With that explanation, I think at the end of the day, you've got to work a few extra hours, and if that's what it is about, and truthfully, I mean, y'all have 3 part-time employees. For some reason, I was thinking one of y'all's full-time.
No, all 3 of us are part-time.
Just a comment. I think the total increase for supervisor election was $25,500. These 2 reductions here is not anywhere around $25,500. I'm not sure what the rest of that is. Lynn, if you can determine what it is.
I can explain most of that if you need to.
just hold it. How's election? Oh, page 50.
Give us just a second, please. Get there.
Hey, Jean, can I borrow you for a minute?
You sure can.
You come around behind us, Jean.
Butler, you want to, go ahead.
One of us doesn't. Eddie does not have it. Rest of us have it.
Butler.
Give me
Hang on,
just
it's
a
page
second.
15.
Mr. Butler, I believe the greatest portion of that increase was for the increase in retirement of your supervisor of elections.
That is correct.
We have no choice but to keep that portion of that.
31,000, am I
We got-
looking
we
at
got-
that right?
We have 30,000, we have $10,000 in retirement cost. Also, John will have a statutory increase of $2,000 this year because of him being certified as as he goes through the general election, so his salary will increase by $2,000. That will drive that. We also had some maintenance costs that were going to increase this year on our voting equipment. That's about a $6,000 increase. And so that's the largest percentage of our monies. Other than that, just very small increases on some of the contracts we had.
Okay, let's go back. Any comment?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'd recommend the board to reserve the ability to go back and look at it after John gives you a detail. Now, there's no doubt about it, the retirement rates went up. I mean, it was,
10%. What-
yeah, it went up for a constitutional officer. It costs,
No control.
it
We
costs
have no
about
control on that.
$41,000 a year for each constitutional officer retirement. So the number has really gone up. It's not a Gulf County problem, it's a state of Florida problem. They did it, they changed the numbers a few years ago, and now they're trying to catch up, and we helping them to catch up. That's part of it, but the total in the big line item is 25,529. It boils down to $25,200.
Yeah, Mr. Butler, that amount is almost $10,000 increase just in the retirement for supervisor of elections.
Okay, and that leaves $15,000 increase above retirement. I would reserve the ability to go back and look at his detail. 'Cause we're gonna have two public hearings in September.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. Next hearing, can you have us a detail?
Sure can.
We have a motion and a second on the floor to reduce the additional hours, so we need to withdraw those first.
I made that motion.
Macklemore and Brian second.
I'll withdraw my second.
Okay, you're gonna withdraw your motion, we'll go back and re-examine this, okay?
And we'll supply detail. Thank y'all
All
very
right,
much.
hey, thank you. Out here. Revisit this one,
Yes, Mr.
okay?
Mr.
All
Chairman,
right, let's go to the next one.
$2,970 reduction for tax collector raises.
Mr. Chairman, I'll say the same thing there. Let us, for all the constitutional officers, let us work through this budget. Let us cut it for the time being, and let's work through it. I'll do my best to get some more money out of the lobbyist, because this lobbying deal with the COBRA and the Port and the FEMA's taking so long. I'll do my best to take that money, get some of that money back, but
Okay, the only issue with this, Mr. Jaeger, is, if we do for one, we have to look at the whole pie.
I agree. And in looking at the raises, it's not that much, so maybe I can get that much out of that.
If you look at the whole pie, it is now. The whole pie I'm talking about. Yeah, we got
You're
the
talking about our
talking
employees
about
too?
the whole pie,
Yep.
yes, sir.
Here, Mr.
Yeah. So that's the only thing I want to
I can't
caution
get
you
that
about.
much, but I'll.
That's what I know.
Pie, you might get a little moon pie, but that's gonna be about
That's what I
a
know,
lot of
so.
money here.
So I think we just kind of reaching out there for this.
Let us do what we can towards
Okay.
raises.
Okay, I'm good with that.
We're gonna revisit the tax collector raises, correct?
Taking it out.
You wanna,
I guess I'm ready to knock it out now and get it over with, because if we do one, we're gonna have to do it all anyway.
you gonna,
I'm okay with knocking it out. I just want them to understand, we're gonna do our best to try to.
oh, we got two
Help 'em
more
with
minutes.
So moved to take it out.
All right, we got a motion here to remove the 2,970 from the tax collector's raise it. We got a second right here from Commissioner Bryan. Any more board discussion? Anyone from the audience on? All right, if no opposition, $2,970 reduction passes 5-0. Okay. Okay,
Next item is deduction of $100,000 from the sheriff budget for the vehicle replacements from last year.
Sheriff, I know you. Sheriff, I know.
I was gonna ask Miss Sandy to come up here.
You got her ran.
Very quick, last year I came here, I asked for $200,000. We had $34,000 appropriated in our budget for vehicles. That buys one. And I came here last year, asked for $200,000. Y'all were gracious enough to give me the $100,000. And we've made good use of it. There have been multiple cars we have pinched and pinched and pinched to pull over. I didn't know this was on the chopping block for this year. I realized I asked for an extra position and equipment and stuff, but did not realize this was something that was going to be considered on the chopping block as well. Understand, if you look down a few more items there, there is an extra position that's requested. I understand, as dismal as the budget process looks this year, that there may have to be some adjustments there, but I would seriously ask you not cut me these vehicles. I've got 36 vehicles in the fleet. They run 24/7. Of the 36, I have almost half of them that I have over 100,000 miles on each one of them. These are emergency vehicles required to get to the public to provide a service in a quick fashion. They need to be reliable to keep my employees safe, and I ask you to keep that in there. Once again, can make concessions on the position and the equipment that was asked for the extra position, but I would ask you to seriously consider keeping this in there. Any questions of me?
Okay, so, Sheriff, you could maybe, this investigator, here's what it boils down to, and I can't guarantee you anything, it'll have to be this. Of these three, got the vehicles, investigator, associated cost, and investigator insurance. Priority 1, 2, 3, which is the most high priority, the vehicles?
I've got to have my vehicles.
And, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Sheriff,
Yes,
you
sir.
said you had the money for one, is that correct? You were allotted for one vehicle?
Well, I had budgeted, in my
On
internal
your own,
budget there,
for-
there was
for-
$34,000
for
in the
one.
budget. But for the other ones, with the extra
Yeah.
100,000, I can get 4 out of that.
Yeah, but here's,
Okay,
gentlemen,
go ahead.
and ladies, here's what I'd like to look at. I don't know if we could do this or not, but I'd like to look at, the sheriff investigator, do away with that. You said you can get by without it. Sheriff investigator insurance, $10,000 right at, do away with that. On the vehicles,
Yes, sir.
I would like to look at maybe, now, I'm not sure that
Okay,
we
go
can, that we could do that, is maybe instead of the 100,000, knock back to 60,000 or 70,000, knock it back a little bit and see if we can find the funding for it. Don't know that we can or not, but I'm willing to go back and look in any way possible, pull some of that money out for you, a couple more vehicles. You have the money for one, you need 4. 3,
I need, with a fleet of 36 vehicles, I mean, to keep an up-to-date fleet, you really need to replace 6 vehicles per year to keep, and that goes in a 6-year rotation at
Yeah.
40,000 a year, adds up quick.
I understand that, Sheriff, and
Yes,
I
sir.
know you're running a big operation over there. But we have no way to turn except raise your millage.
I understand.
And we're trying our best not to do that as much as possible, and I think maybe if I can get the board to help me with this, we'll look, we may have to pinch that lobbyist a little bit harder, yeah. But anyway, that's what I would like to do with it, just me personally.
Like I said, I put in the request, it was a needed request for the other investigator position. I understand that that might not be workable. I would love to keep the $100,000 for the vehicles on the table right now until round 2, and maybe at round 2, let's look at it again, but if we could keep it there right now, it would be.
I'm almost sure the investigator's not gonna happen.
Okay,
And so, not with my vote,
I understand.
okay? And I'm willing to work with you, try to work with you on the vehicles.
Okay.
All right, Sheriff, anything else? Got 2 more rounds of this, all right?
Yeah.
So what's the motion?
Give us a motion.
Okay, that's easy. Okay, I would motion to, let's go ahead and do this, if we can step ahead,
Well, let's-
if
you
it's
wanna
okay.
come back up?
Yeah, well, we'll go to the sheriff investigator.
Insurance, let's go with the insurance.
Okay, then the insurance, I would motion to delete that.
I've got a motion to delete that. I've got a second there by Commissioner Smiley. Any other? One from the audience? All right, no opposition, 5-0. All right, that took care of that because it goes right up with the next one. All right, let's step up now to the investigator.
Motion to delete that.
All right? Motion and second, delete. Any further on the board here, anyone from the audience? No opposition. That moves to 5-0. Now we'll go back to the $100,000 on the vehicle.
Okay, I'm willing to try this, but my motion would be to delete that to $60,000. Cut it 40,000.
Put 40,000.
Yeah,
And we can come back and put.
that's right.
Put
This is,
40,000.
we're gonna have two more,
Revisit this, okay.
revisit it at 60,000 instead of 100,000.
Okay. That's your motion?
That's my motion.
Sheriff, with the understanding, and go ahead, you got a second.
Thanks for the discussion.
Understanding that we're struggling with this budget.
He understands. And we may not make it happen. I don't know,
Say it.
but it's worth a try, you know. I'm willing to try it.
Sure. Now, we got a second on
This-
this for discussion. Yes, we have. Good.
This is the 100 that he rolled over from last year, right?
No. He asked for 200, we grant him 100, now this, he's asking for some.
That's 100 that the county commission gave the sheriff to buy vehicles. It was left in the proposed budget for October.
So it is, to answer your question, it is the 100,000 that,
It's an extra 100.
Y'all gave me
No matter-
100,000 last year to purchase
Gave you
vehicles
100.
with.
did you buy vehicles?
I sure did. I sure did, and plan to do it again. You'll be willing.
Okay, so another 100.
Yeah,
Okay.
and like I said, I didn't think this was on the chopping block. I understand new requests, but I've thought that coming from last year, that was gonna be something that was gonna be built into the budget so we could continue this thing going and not fall behind
There you
again.
go. That
This
is,
is, okay.
No
that
rollover.
explains it. But anyway, I'm willing to try, try it. Let's look and dig and see what we can come up with, if possible.
Sheriff, you gonna have any money with it that's gonna go into cash carry forward after the end of the year?
Seriously, Don.
Conley and I got to drive out the wheel hall. Okay, all right, we're gonna cut it 40 and revisit it. Reduce it by $40,000 and leave it at 60. Sheriff's saying he needs 4 vehicles. He's already got one, we say we might can help him with 2, possibly get the, okay. All right, got our second motion, second. Any further discussion on the board? Any here? If not, no opposition. 5-0. All right, we have Ms. Lanier.
The next item is the property appraisers' new positions. Those positions are $34,506 each for a total of deduction of $69,012.
So move to delete.
Motion to delete.
Second, sorry, Mitch, it's a bad year.
I can't help it.
Second by Commissioner Yeager. Any other board discussion? Oh, I was going to.
No, Mr. Chair, I don't have an argument. I understand the situation. I'd love to have those positions because statutorily it would help us and keep us in line. We just got an email from Franklin County. We were kind of looking at their salaries versus what Gulf County salary people make, and they actually are quite a bit more than our staff. But anyway, we'll withdraw that position.
Appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Maybe it'll get better one day.
Sure, thank you. Oh, and at last meeting, we mentioned the percentage of homesteaded people that actually pay a portion, and that portion's 83% of those that are homesteaded. And actually, 90% or a little bit above of all pay some form of tax, so.
Thanks for that
You just pulled it.
Pulled both of them.
Yes, sir.
You pulled it off the table, did you?
Yes, sir.
Right here? Okay.
We still need to vote on that, Mr. Chairman.
We'll vote on it. I have a motion. You made the motion, didn't you?
Made the motion, I second
Yeager
it.
seconded.
You did?
Yeager.
There you go, okay. Anybody from the audience? Thank you, Mitch. No opposition. 5-0.
Sir, the next is the two positions, insurance, $17,776 reduction.
Moved by Commissioner Bryan, second by Commissioner Macklemore, any further board discussion, any opposition? Pass 5-0. Okay, Ms. Lanier, you still have it.
The next items are the 2014 freezes and the 2015 cash carry forward increases. We need the board to approve these as well. Can we do them all, or do we want to? We'll start with the $50,420 from the HICRA 2014 budget that we do not anticipate being spent because we do not have a participating hospital.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Motion. Second by Commissioner Bryan. For the board discussion, any in the audience? Opposition? Pass 5-0.
Next is the $70,000 for the Sacred Heart Health System half-cent sales tax payback to EMS.
So move for the attorney to try to make sure that that happens. It'll be up to him to work with them, I guess him and Don to work with them, get that through, so move.
Motion by Commissioner Yeager, second by Commissioner Smiley. Any other discussion? Let me make one comment on this discussion. People that gonna have to come through now. We're subsidizing them. We're giving them a half cent, and then we turn around and hand them another. Whitfield said $78,000. I mean, they'll take it if we'll hand it to them. Don't blame them. This time if they're gonna dance, they're gonna have to pay the band. So Mr. Attorney, we will get together and we're gonna get something concrete on that. Or either they're gonna have to find them another way of hauling their patients, transport, another taxi service, okay. We want to,
Carry the motion.
I know it, is anyone else in the audience on this? No opposition, this passed 5-0.
Next item, we need the board to approve the $103,550 for adjustment from the original estimates and revenues.
Okay,
Simply an admin change.
sure,
So
motion.
moved.
Commissioner Bryan makes a motion, Commissioner Yeager seconds. Any other board opposition, any discussion out of the audience? No opposition, this motion.
The next item is the $100,000 cash carry forward for the jail.
So move. Thank you, Ms. Downer.
Thank you. Got a motion by Commissioner Yeager. Second for discussion by Commissioner Smiley. You got the floor.
Mr. Hammond, you cut real good last year, you come back and cut again, it ain't gonna hurt the operation of the jail.
We've averaged, I think, for the last 5 years, about 200,000 in cash carry forward, which helps the bottom line that we hadn't spent. This will leave us at the bare edge as far as, we got the 100,000, but our numbers are horrible in the last couple months. One, because the sheriff's doing a great job in filling it up, but we've got a lot of unanticipated medical expenses and whatnot, so there will be no extra after this 100 comes out. So, yes, we can run the show, but there won't be any. And we're delaying a lot of purchases that we need to make, but yeah, safety and security, yes. Extras, no.
You made the motion. Second for discussion. Any other on the board? Any other discussion on the board? Anyone from the audience? No opposition? Pass 5-0. Okay.
Next, the next would be the $200,000 transfer from secondary road and bridge for 2015 budgeted revenue.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Commissioner Macklemore.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Yeager. Discussion. 200,000. One from the audience. Hanford. Opposition. Pass 5-0.
Next item, Mr. Chairman, is a 5th-cent gas tax. That will be 75% for 3/4 of the 2014 realized. That includes the city allocations. The amount of this revenue would be $112,628.
So move, Mr. Chair, to begin the process of this, and this is one of those alternative sources of revenue that At the end of the day, let me explain it. At the end of the day, everybody contributes to that uses those roads. All those people that come down, and all counties are looking at this. Already, quite a few counties has implemented this, but all counties are looking at this because it's not just your taxpayer in your county paying that nickel. And gas fluctuates 5 to 10 cents every other day. You don't see it so much, but it helps the county, and the bottom line, it's a user fee, it's an alternative source of revenue. It's not a new tax. What you're doing is supplementing your budget with that tax. So if I can get a second, at least for discussion, I'll put that in form of a motion.
Let's
I second it for discussion.
all right, you second for discussion, okay, and then we're gonna go, now, let's get clear on this. Gasoline only.
Yeah, it doesn't affect
Does
diesel.
not, Mr. Butler, or the attorney, diesel is not included in this.
Yes, not.
Out here is strictly
Motor fuel,
no,
no diesel.
And as you've seen, as you drive to Panama City, Bay County's put that on the table last week. We've been discussing it a couple of years, and I've tried to get it passed a couple of years. Bay County's now just put it on, and there's been other counties that have put this thing on. And basically, it helps your budget, guys. It supplements your budget with out-of-county revenue from people coming from other counties, and it is not going to affect the amount of gas that's bought in your county, because a nickel is just a nickel.
Mayor.
And it's nickel per gallon, not a nickel per dollar, so it's not 5%, it's 5 pennies on the gallon.
now,
Okay. Just to clear things up just a little bit, Mr. Yeager. Me, for one, and I guarantee you, 90% of the people that, whenever they ring that little pump off, they look at the price of that gallon of that gasoline. And one, I do. If it's $3.70 or $3.55, 5 cents makes a big difference. Now, let's go right on back a little bit further. I go to Georgia last weekend, gas $3.35 a gallon. It's $3.70 down here where I buy it. And what does Carmen do? He fills up in Georgia. He don't buy gas here unless he has to. So just a point, I won't support this. I wish you'd find another way to generate money.
The reason,
Gas,
go ahead, Dave.
gas is the reason that this world is like it is today, one of the reasons. When you go pay $3.70 a gallon for gasoline, you don't have money to come out here and buy the sheriff a new vehicle with, or you don't have money to buy a fishing pole with. You buying it gas.
right to the contrary,
Okay, back over here.
5 pennies of that is going into your county budget to help the sheriff. But at the end of the day, when I went through Mississippi last week, it was $3.29 because they don't have a state income, because they have a state income tax. So they're being taxed some way, they're just not being taxed at the gas pump. So it's just a way, and the legislature saw fit to be able to give counties this ability because we don't have a state income tax. They can give us the ability to collect that locally.
Okay.
And many counties are utilizing it because they don't want to put it on the backs of the property taxpayer.
But Mr. Yeager, don't you agree with me whenever you can go buy it for $3.29 and down here we're looking at $3.70? Now, what's wrong with that picture? We're doing something wrong down here in Florida or down here in Port St.
Do you want a
Joe.
state income tax?
You know,
If you want a state income tax, you can fix that.
I want to buy gas at $3.25 a gallon or
Then implement a state
$3.29.
income tax. We don't have a state income tax here, and that's the reason. But it's the prudent thing to do. Nobody likes to say it's a new tax. I don't even want to say it's a new tax, but it's a way to supplement, to keep from putting it on the backs of the property taxpayer. It's for everybody to share that are using those roadways.
Sales tax only, fair tax.
It's the only fair tax. Property tax is not a fair tax. Somebody can live in a house right next door to somebody that bought one 10 years later, and they pay half of the property tax as the next guy. It's an unfair tax. We need to figure out how to reduce that as best we can and use alternative sources of revenue, as Mr. Smiley said.
It's just too high where I buy it already. I don't care.
Well, I just know it's gonna come from somewhere. Just like you said, we're gonna either do this or we're gonna put it on the back of the Avalon taxpayers, and, I mean, it's gonna come from somewhere. That old saying, they say you're gonna either pay me now or you're gonna pay me later. I let my second stand.
If you don't implement this, guys, that's gonna be $112,000 that you're gonna have to take from the property taxpayer to put in this budget to run your public works. Simple as that. That's my argument, Mr. Chair.
Well, it's a good argument, it's a good valid argument. All right. Got your motion over here, and you second it for discussion. Anyone in the audience on this?
Somebody come up here and talk with us.
I'll take the
It's
heat
a
for it,
user
Mr.
fee.
Smiley. I'll take the heat for it. It's a user fee, it needs to be done.
All right, any more? Commissioner Bryan, do you have any input? All right. This, Attorney.
You put it to a vote, if you could do a roll call, sir.
Sure. All right, and I think this requires a supermajority vote. Question?
Tom Sims, we are, you say 70,000 goes to the county?
There'll be a portion that goes to the cities, of Port St. Joe.
Total is estimated at 112,000?
According to what they've got.
The county
on this-
portion is what we are putting into the budget. The
Right.
county portion is
County
estimated to be 112,628
That's
for
the-
3/4 of the year.
That's the county's portion?
That would be the county's portion, yes, sir.
Do you know what the city's portions will be?
I can get that very.
Well, it doesn't matter.
The
My
county's
que-
portion is 66.57%.
My question is, in other places in this budget, you're giving money to the cities of Weewa. I don't know, I couldn't find any for the city of Port St. Joe.
We don't.
Then if you're going to give them money, alternative revenue, then go back to the budget and take away that other thing where you're giving them money.
That's a valid argument, Tom.
Yeah.
It's a valid argument.
You what? All right, let's vote. Go, who wants to go?
I'll vote yes.
Vote yes.
I'll vote yes.
A vote yes here. Yes. Vote no. Vote yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Just a couple comments, Mr. Chairman. That $112,000 now affects your budget. To adopt that gas tax by ordinance in a supermajority, you're required, obviously, to have that majority plus one. So as we move forward now, you've obligated yourselves, we're going to introduce that ordinance by public hearing, and presumably those vote yeses will be in place. If you do not vote for that ordinance during that public hearing at a later date, you've already set the ceiling on your millage, presumably, when we have that hearing for that ordinance. Those funds, that $112,000, will need to come from somewhere. So
Better be sure.
anticipate that consideration for reserves. And it's important for you all to understand as you move forward. You have that 4 right now. If you have the 4 on the supermajority for the adoption of the ordinance, it goes through. If you back off of that, then you'll have to pull the 112 from somewhere else.
Good clarification. I thank the board for that. I think it's right.
Mr. Chairman, then,
Just going to have to go to Walmart and carry cans with us.
I just guess it.
Yes, George. All right, the next one, I think we've already addressed it.
yeah, we do need a vote on this one as well for next
Do.
year's revenue,
All right, we
the
have jumped it
half-cent.
back up here. Okay. Get a motion. It's on the half-cent surtax for EMS funding. A motion. A second. You make the motion, Commissioner Holly? But you made the motion, okay.
I'll second. I'll
Oh, we got a
second
second
that.
over
Yeah,
here.
I think we've
Been here
voted
a
on
long
the
time.
14.
All right. Any opposition, any further discussion? Anything out of the audience? No opposition, 5-0.
Next item, Mr. Chairman, is the anticipated sale estimates for the compactor, the limb trucks, and the dozer for $300,000.
So moved, Mr. Chair. I think that's a conservative number too, so that'll help.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? One out of the audience? No opposition, motion passed 5-0. All right.
That's all we have. Did you want to discuss those items on the last page, Don, or do we want to withhold those for later?
While we're here, let's go ahead and,
For the board's consideration, we don't know what the number's gonna come in when private enterprise gives us a bid on August 1st on ambulance, to run the ambulance service. But in the event the county commission continues to run the ambulance service, we're asking you to take a look at, sitting down with Houston and try to refigure what we're doing, how we're doing, try to cut some overtime, plug some other straight-time people in, one thing or another, whatever we can come up with, and come back to you. And you still have 2 opportunities in September to decrease the budget again. You can still lower your millage later on. But if the board give us direction to sit down, it's going to take a table of us to sit down and try to figure out how to make it work, to run the numbers. We may come back to you and say we can't do it, but we might be able to tell you we can do it. But if you give us direction to do that, we'll sit down and report back to you.
Chairman, can I ask a question?
Sure.
It may be for the clerk or somebody, Don, you may have reviewed it already. What did we went out for, we got a collection group that's collecting and billing. Do we know what they've collected this year, or what we perceive that they're going to collect this year? I know we had $700,000 or $800,000 in revenue on that side. I don't know if we're going to.
Revenue for this year.
This year,
It's,
we're off of that.
We're off of the 940.
Projected being off of that right now.
How far, do you know?
We're looking
I
at
get-
that for you right now, Mr. Yeager.
What's that now?
We're looking at that right now.
Okay. I mean, that'd be good to know what that revenue side was.
26. Mr. Larry, do you have any numbers there? I was looking here.
I know it's probably gonna be close to 100,000 off from last year.
Now, when you say 100,000 off, be 100,000 more,
Less.
less? Okay, so-
Take into account the 70,000 from Sacred Heart.
So if we could get our 70, what'd you say, 78, if we could get our money out of Sacred Heart, then that would, change that number significantly.
Runs are still down a touch,
Runs are down.
A little bit.
but
Okay.
it's probably around $100,000.
Sure wanting to get that number on down less, so.
Gary, you got that number?
Yes, sir. Revenue does run behind, so keep that in mind, but to date on the GL, we have collected about just shy of 500,000, and that is runs plus contract.
Okay,
And
generally
we-
runs a month or two behind, or?
You
So we'll have about 4 or 5 months.
500,000? Is that low?
Yes, sir. We had budgeted $106,000 for contracts, of which we've only collected 27. That, of course, is your Sacred Heart Hospital.
Sacred Heart.
That's included in that. You budgeted $916,000 for ambulance run fees, and like I said, to date, we've collected $472, but again, that is probably about 2 months behind.
It's still gonna be low.
Still
And
gonna
that's
be-
why that anticipated cash carry forward is
Yes.
where it's at too, isn't it?
Yes, sir. I believe our billing for this past month was only 40-something thousand.
42,000.
Yes, sir.
Oh? Okay, Mr. Butler, you'll have the floor. We'll go back to you.
If we could-
Do you need a motion to
If the
proceed?
board give us direction and go sit down, and we'll come back with you with what we think we can do
With the EMS.
for EMS.
Okay.
So moved to do that, Mr. Chair, understanding that we're supplementing the EMS to the tune of probably 300,000 or 400,000 with taxpayer, with property tax money, if this collection keeps going like it is.
Yeah, last year it was about 190.
That we supplemented with property tax pay? Yes, so Don, see if you can't get that. See if you can't
We
get that-
started, we were 800, we got it down to 190, now it's creeping back. Motion second. Any further discussion from the board members? Anyone? Mr. Whitfield, anyone here? No opposition? 5-0. Butler,
Mr. Chairman.
you pursue that.
Mr. Chairman, next one is save the closing costs on landfill. This is just try and attempt to give you some good news on a bleak budget. This is a horrible budget, cutting all these cuts. But maybe at by the end of the tunnel, there may be more money in the escrow account than it's going to cost to close the landfill. So we don't have that number now. We have money we've been setting aside year after year after year in escrow, and hopefully it won't take all of that to close the landfill. And hopefully we'll be able to come back to you later, may not be before September, but come back to you later with some numbers that you can save. And it'll help you out maybe within a year's time. And then the last item is employee attrition from Public Works. My recommendation is until the board gives us further guidance, as we lose an employee, unless it's a critical employee like a mechanic, if we lose a truck driver, that we just don't replace that truck driver until the county commission turns us loose again to hire again. To try to go, we're in a hole, and we're trying to figure out how to hopefully get out of the hole. And if the board would give us direction, just, through attrition, lose some employees, and then at some point in time, maybe the money get better, and we'll be able to add some back.
So move, Mr. Chair. That'll give them the opportunity to do that, and if it need be, they can always come back to the board and say, hey, look, we're getting to the point where we need to start adding our employees back. So that at least gives staff to say, hey, we can do it or we can't do it. So move to do that.
Motion.
Second. For discussion, right?
Sure.
Don't, Mr. Butler, he has the authority to do the personnel anyway. I mean, if it's a critical position that him and Joe or Mark, whatever they decide they need, then he don't have to come and ask the board for that.
I think he was just making us aware.
Yeah, okay.
Keeping us in the loop. That's great.
Mr. Chairman, you took most of these suggested cuts. I think Madam Clerk is probably adding the numbers up and can probably give you an idea of what the millage rate would be based on what you've done today.
If we could just get a short recess, she'll run
All
it.
right, we will. We need it.
Need a little more than 5 minutes, Carmen. Miss Leanna says you need to carry that motion on the critical positions, unless you want to withdraw. You got a motion and a second, so you need to do something.
I'll withdraw the motion. He's got the ability to do that.
Jeremy said.
I was thinking that you probably didn't care. Okay, Madam Clerk. I didn't hear it at all in your voice.
Yes, sir, we're ready.
Okay, good people.
Mr. Chairman, before we give you the number, we do need you to vote to clarify one item, because these ladies had a $2,000 difference in the slide presentation versus what the actual number should have been. There you go. The property appraiser's insurance, I think you moved to reduce by $17,776. It should be $19,776. So if you can just give me a motion to clarify that you want to do that.
All right,
Second.
motion. Commissioner Ryan, I need a second.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Yeager. Any further discussion on this correction? Not from the audience. Motion passed 5-0. Okay, you got that one.
Good.
Got another one?
She's whispering in my ear. Hang on a second. Okay, Sherry has her numbers figured, and I'm going to let her tell you what it is since I can't see it. So,
Okay.
with all the changes on both the revenue side and the expenditure side, we have decreased the millage down to 6.8198, which is a 0.2.
198. It was at,
6.8198.
we were at 6.5 something.
No, sir, we were at 8, yeah, I'm sorry, current year, yes, is 6.5608, which is an increase of 0.2590 over the current year.
0.25. Yeah, a quarter of a meal,
Yes, sir.
Where we at right now?
quarter of a meal.
With the numbers that we're at today?
It's an increase to your ad valorem general fund budget of $568,459.
Quarter of a meal.
Versus 2.6.
It's a big difference.
And, Mr. Chairman, I give credit to staff in the clerk's office working together. I mean, it worked long and hard, and the staff worked this weekend.
Yep.
You know, for a long time, so I give them credit to do a little bit of our work for us, to give us some ideas, so we appreciate that.
I will tell you that automatically your DRA contribution reduces because it reduces as you reduce the millage, so you cut $32,183 out of that. It just reduced automatically. You didn't need a vote on that. This time, the board wants to set a tentative millage rate, and their first public hearing date, you can. If you want to come back at another time before August the 4th, you can do that, but you have to have a date, time, and place for your first public hearing.
Okay, go ahead, Madam Clerk.
That was it. I mean, it's at your discretion if you want to set it now or you want to meet again another day this week.
Good deal. Administrator.
Those are some good numbers. Mr. Attorney needs to talk to you about one more item that just come up. I mean, it's been working in the works, but we need to talk about one more.
Okay.
I'm just the messenger.
Goes a half meal, a quarter of a meal.
These are your instructions, Commissioners. The Administrator and I and Commissioner Smiley actually was in attendance this morning. We were invited to the school board, and we were at their workshop. We were invited to discuss redistricting, and we told them where we were at. We provided them all a copy of Mr. Spellman's latest summary. I circulated that out to all of them. They requested an opportunity, and I'll discuss it tomorrow morning at the meeting with you, an opportunity to sit with the 5 of you and the 5 of them, possibly at the EOC, and work on trying to get a unified effort going into next year. But you did read Mr. Spellman's summary, and he has recommended you go out and get a consultant and get some quotes. So as you start to finalize this number, there is that number of $25,000 that's looming for a GIS consultant and Mr. Spellman's efforts next year. So it's absent from these cut sheets, and it's also absent from your proposed budget. If there's a time to discuss it, that is it. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention again. So if you are considering it, it needs to be part of your discussion, and I didn't want it to go.
I think it's something we
Okay,
need to
now-
discuss at the next time we get together, Mr. Chair. I've got a lot of thinking to do on that, and I've
All right, now, we're trying to get them, now, they don't have the same district lines we have.
They do not. We recommended
Can't
that.
get on the same lines.
Couple of things. Your precincts and your supervisor election budget's elevated because there are multiple districts in this county, not just one set. So your SOE budget and costs are higher every year. The county commission budgets that and pays for that. The school board doesn't. As we go through this effort, I also mentioned this morning that it would be our expectation and request to them that they would budget some of the money to contribute to these costs in 2015 to help us defray some of the costs. So at that meeting that you're going to have, we're going to ask them, but if there's an opportunity, it's now to incorporate that, and then we can come down from it. We're going to set the ceiling, Ms. Norris, and then we can't go beyond that.
Can't go
We can
above
always
it.
come down from it at your next couple meetings. So that's why it's important to discuss right now.
Well, I think we either have to look at putting it in now or have to have another meeting before we set it to
You're
discuss
right.
if everybody's tired.
I think we need to come back to it,
Good,
Mr. Chairman.
good. Is that an agreement? I don't want to make a motion, we come back. Yes, sir. You got a motion here, we've got a second over here.
Do you want to set a
Let's
date
set
this
a
week?
date.
Right.
Please make it this week. I'm not gonna get into you frogging too much, but this week it would be great. We could, meet. I know you've got a board meeting tomorrow. You have to give 24 hours notice unless you just recess today and reconvene at another time.
Gotta do it either Wednesday.
The property appraiser has to have a tentative by August the 4th.
Said this week, is it gotta be this week?
Well, I say preferably, I'm scheduled to be out 3 days the following week for some committee meetings, statewide committee meetings. So that's why I ask if we can do it this week, it would be better.
All right, Commissioner Prime, what you got?
I'm open Thursday.
I'm open Thursday.
I know where you going. All right, what would be a good time? What about you, Commissioner? Morning or evening, it matter to the chair. That'd be good.
Only you get up that early.
Is there a transportation meeting in this room one day this week?
Just a second, let me check that schedule. I don't
For
have
some
it with me.
reason, I'm thinking there's a transportation meeting this week.
We usually do those, I think, in the conference
Back
room.
there.
Conference room.
Oh, you do? Okay. Okay. I'm good.
Crazy. When you want? When'd be more convenient, morning? You want it? Don't matter to me.
We're good all day. It's up
Let's set it at 3
Your
o'clock.
discretion.
How about 3?
3 o'clock? Morning? Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Mr. Yeager, they did have a meeting scheduled, they have canceled that meeting.
Okay, so we're gonna meet at 3 o'clock on, what's day, 21st, 22nd, 3rd, 24th,
What day is that on, Mr. Chairman?
Thursday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Oh, Lord.
Just messes up the whole day.
That's the whole day.
All right. All right, before we go, does anybody else have anything? Again, I want to thank the staff, Morris, you and your people, all, and the people for being patient here, and mainly this board for taking the time and just sitting down and trying to work and look out after the taxpayers. I know you can't make everybody happy. Maybe it's something we can all live with. Michael, you got anything else to say?
You got a motion to go home.
All right, so we'll accept that.
And I have one,
Yes,
yeah, because Mr. Smiley made a motion to set the meeting. I know the chair can call a meeting on his own, but since we had a motion, we need to go ahead and carry it with
Let
some,
the chair take care of it.
Well, 3 o'clock, you talking about 3 o'clock Thursday?
3 o'clock Thursday?
yes.
So the
That's
chairman
fine
can
with
call
you?
that special
Okay,
meeting.
so he can just withdraw
Okay,
his motion.
3 o'clock Thursday.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good people. Thank you.